I like unshaven look, but
No, it's as we head into the winter season, it's both your guys' time to thrive, you know. I can't really get
Well,
the full beard
beards.
going, so
like, isn't winter season in LA is still probably hotter than my summer?
I
Yeah.
mean maybe
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like randomly there'll be like a hot day like in December and it's just there's no explanation. Well, one explanation, but like
Yeah. It wasn't like Halloween just like so fucking hot last year.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it
So
was brutal.
it's really strange.
You just remind me,
Mhm.
I've been told that LA is crazy for Halloween.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
like yeah, there's like horror nights at like amusement parks,
Hmm.
you know, like they do like really crazy stuff. Yeah, at like all the Universal Studios, Hollywood or Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, I love horror nights. I try to go every year. So
Yeah,
it's always so much fun.
they
And
have
maybe it's like the
mm,
multiple theme parks that have this stuff like Gene was saying too. It's like you can just go to any one, they'll all be going all out for the themes or
mhm.
to bring it back to our boy Spider-Man. Like
Oh yeah.
people love the
Mhm.
superhero stuff and you know, sometimes you're like, oh, is Halloween starting early? And it's like, no, that person's just unwell.
Yeah,
You know, that
yeah.
happens too.
I was telling them, I'm not sure if you knew this, for one of the horror nights in like Orlando, Universal Studios, they had a Maximum Carnage event one year.
Right.
It's like Carnage theme, and they supposedly killed off all the superheroes. All the kids were terrified. It was like corpses of Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In retrospect, it was kind of crazy how they made so much merchandise directed at children about like a serial killer who is
Mhm.
made of knives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my hang up with Carnage. I'm like,
Hmm.
he's not a Spider-Man villain. Like he is,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
like
Just
aesthetically and ethically, he's like not. Like
yeah.
No,
that's like a Punisher
90s.
deal, you know?
yeah, there's a really good mini series by Jerry Conway, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, and he was like, I'm gonna do old school like Tomb of Dracula style comic, but
Hmm.
with Carnage as like the main character, but the
Mm.
villain of it as well.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's how you do that. None of these like chipper superheroes around him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a good idea. It
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like when that one director took over the like one of the Friday the 13th sequels. I think it's
Mm.
six, Jason Lives, and they
Hmm.
were like, "This is like a universal monster. Like he should be lit with like the backlight and the fog.
Hmm.
Everything should be foggy and rainy." And it's like the best looking one of those movies because
Hmm.
that
A
dude
hundred
wasn't just
percent.
doing it.
That's my favorite Jason movie
Mm.
by a pretty big stretch as well.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I
it's
love that
that
one.
one, or I'm gonna sound crazy, but just hang with me.
Hmm.
Jason X.
Mm.
I wish I
Because
wish I love me some schlock.
Yeah.
I can't get behind Jason X, but I
Cheese
I
oh
nice.
no,
I, I
yeah,
love you for loving
Hmm.
it.
yeah. I mean,
Jason X.
it doesn't even like work. Like it's not that fun to watch. But like for those movies, those to me are like the wackiness of them kind of works the best. Although
Mm.
Jason Lives isn't that wacky, but
Yeah.
yeah, Jason X is like psychotic.
Just
It's like we used to
yeah.
make motion pictures, you know. We used to make fucking like our dog
Yeah.
shit was special. It's still dog
Yeah.
shit,
Like
but
it's like
it's a
yeah.
specific brand of dog shit, which I have to appreciate.
On that note, I
Hmm.
might just use that as the cold
Oh,
open for this
Sure,
episode,
yeah.
God.
because
Hmm.
I am not usually the one who introduces these episodes.
Mm.
So I actually don't know how to do this because I know Diego and Gene, so
Hmm.
the conversation will be fine. But I'm like, how do you start a conversation? And I think that just happened for me. So this week on that 90s Spider-Man show, which is not a weekly podcast, so I shouldn't introduce it like that. We are talking about comic book adaptations. If I was more SEO minded, this might be called the best and the worst comic book adaptations. But I think the more interesting question is like, how faithful should comic adaptations be? The reason that we're talking about this week is that Henry, due to a mishap with the time dilation accelerator, is in between dimensions. So I'm writing solo, and I thought, well, this is a great time to bring in two of my favorite people on the internet
Mm.
and real life.
Hmm.
They are real people. Diego Crespo and Gene Aversa from the Waffle Press podcast. If you guys have not listened to the Waffle Press podcast, then go listen to it. I've been on it a couple of times. We've been on it recently to talk about the new Spider-Verse movie. Diego's been on this before to talk about the upcoming Blade movie, which felt like it was sooner. Like it's still upcoming. Not quite sure what's happening with that, but like we also don't really know what's happening with a lot of things right now because of the Writers Guild of America strike, the SAG strike, and rather than butcher that topic, I thought let's just talk about writing, let's talk about comic book adaptations, which is something that will always benefit from writers being treated well and will always be at a disadvantage when writers are treated badly. If you want to know more about those strikes, head over to the Waffle Press. They've got a couple of episodes on it. They speak to people involved in the strikes and give you a lowdown on what's going on if you're just getting it through a couple of tweets here and there and are thinking, I actually don't know why any of this is happening or why it's such a big deal. There are some good reasons behind it. And if you were wondering whether or not the podcast you listen to about Spider-Man the Animated Series is pro-strike or not, is pro-union or not, this one is. Yeah, so head over and listen to those guys talk about that there. But other than that, Diego, Gene, I don't know who wants to go first, but could you introduce yourselves and the Waffle Press?
I'll let Diego go first.
Okay, thanks, Gene. Yeah, I'm Diego. I'm the co-host of the Waffle Press with Gene Aversa. Our side of the show, so there's kind of like two sides to it right now. There's the retrospective series I do with my other co-host Matt Garingo, and then there's the more interviewee, like talky heady stuff with Gene and guests that we bring on, and they both their excuse is just for me to talk to my friends, basically. But like sometimes we get to talk to we always talk to really interesting people. Like I'm not sugarcoating it. Like I really love the conversations we have and a lot of the stuff. Gene does a lot of the guest organization, and so I'm very grateful and thankful for him for that, and I hope he knows I appreciate that very much because I'm very shy.
Let's do the typing.
Yeah, I'm like I don't know if I'm cool enough to ask this person to hang out. You know, like I think I'm stuck in a high school mentality. So I was like, I don't know, maybe they're too cool for me.
No, don't say that.
No, thanks. Yeah, no, it's a good time. I that's all I'll say right now. Gene, is there anything else you want to add? Did I cover enough there?
Yeah, we just talked generally, just like, a lot of movies, like movie stuff. We just like, love it. It's just like all aspects of it. Try to talk about, something we really enjoy, because it's like we don't talk about like we hate this movie, even though I feel like that like randomly like do like kind of make jokes or fun of like certain movies, but like, try to like appreciate it, and then just like have like interesting people on to talk the craft, and then two, it's just kind of like a weird sort of like amalgamation of like what's going on in like our lives, and then like I guess the general sort of like Hollywood pop culture, because it's like we started incorporating like episodes about like the strike, or like talk to a WGA member, because it's like what's happening right now. So been doing it for like 6-7 years, and we love doing it. It's a good outlet. I certainly love it. Yeah, do it like every 2 weeks or so generally.
Really quick, I also want to shout out the guests for the WGA episode and the SAG/Comic-Con episode. Felicia Wade on the SAG episode, so follow her for more information. Check out that episode. And Jay Mitchell for the Writers Guild episode. He helped Gene and I kind of parse out some stuff we were unclear about initially too. And so both great people to follow and stay informed with the ongoing strikes, which obviously we are in major support of. So
yeah, exactly. Spider-Man would be pro-union too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course he would.
I think so.
I think for some it might feel like it's too much of a heady subject to get involved with their pop culture, but unfortunately, all these like silly pop culture things we love, all these comic books, these properties that they're now like the biggest films in the world, which means they're made by the biggest studios in the world, which means they're technically owned by kind of the worst people. The greediest people, the people who are ensuring that people like writers and actors aren't getting their fair share. It also means that stuff happens like Sony delaying a bunch of their movies, which as for me and Henry just put out a couple of episodes on Craven the Hunter, and I I just keep saying it's the year of Craven, and I
Yeah.
around I I only got around to editing and posting that most recent episode today,
Mhm.
which this day of recording, which is like 2 weeks or something after it's officially not the year of Craven, but I'm sticking to it. It's the year of
Yeah.
Craven, whether or not Craven the Hunter comes out in it. In fact, I think that's very suitable for a movie about a Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man. I think we're getting a bit used to that happening now, but
Mhm.
as far as adaptations go, I think that's really getting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And so, much like you were saying, Gene, I don't want to be about bashing films, about hating films, anything like that. But like, I'm all on board for making fun of Craven the Hunter, which is
Mhm.
absurd that exists or that it will exist. If it exists, I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't actually seen the trailer yet. So
Oh no.
all I've seen is Aaron Taylor Johnson's impossible looking abs on that
Mhm.
poster. Those canyons, basically. And I don't have a transition, but we're talking
Mm.
about comic book adaptations. And I figured I would ask our Discord for
Mm.
some examples of things that they thought were good or bad comic book adaptations. Link is in the description if you want to join that. It's Radioactive Spider Hole. I'm only partially responsible for that title. Henry's not here, so he can take the full blame for it. We got some interesting responses that I'm sure will be good for starting off our conversation on it. One user we got brought up the Killing Joke,
Mm.
which I have not seen the animated movie adaptation, but he said is real bad, and then linked to an H Bomber Guy video on it, which I have seen, and
Mhm.
that's all I know about that movie is from that video. It's a great video, which is kind of about how the Killing Joke, which is based on a comic by Alan Moore in what was it, the late 80s, maybe?
Like 86 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
came
it's
out
around there.
before 89 Batman because that drew from it. Yeah.
Right. And that's a comic which even Alan Moore, he has reservations about it now. And I know that they made certain changes to it in the adaptation,
Hmm.
which I don't think anyone was happy with that. Did
No,
either of you two see it?
I saw it. Yeah.
I did not. So Gene, take it
Yeah,
away.
yeah, it's interesting. It's like I think like Brian Azzarello adapts it, and it's like, all right, maybe he could make this less problematic because this is like the holy grail of like problematic comics, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like and then it's like also Bruce Timm, and like also that's like I think Bruce Timm does like good Batman stories. That guy needs to keep his personal stuff out of his work because it's
His
like
fetish.
his
We can
fetish.
call it a
Yeah,
fetish. A fetish
Well,
isn't inherently like
mhm,
negative. It's just like everyone's got a thing. He very
yeah.
clearly has a
He
thing.
also,
he
I
ships.
don't. I really didn't think that this was going to come
Mm,
up, but he does actually make erotic art as well. So there
yeah,
is like a clear,
yeah.
like even in a business way, there is a side business. Like he's got a side hustle going, which is
Hmm.
maybe unfortunately bleeding over into you
Yeah,
know an animation ostensibly for children.
Yeah.
yeah. Because he ships Batgirl and Batman, which was like just weird. Because it's like then you get into like it's like his father figure's like daughter, and then like his adopted, more or less his son dates her in the continuity, and it's weird. And it's like yeah, they just go every which way to like try to make Batgirl, which is like people rightfully critique it for just like how they treat Batgirl to I guess they try to make her more of a character, more of a protagonist in terms of story, and they just kind of just fail at it because it's just she's just this like person where it's like her character arc is just based on like she's attracted to Batman and like she gives up the costume because of it, and then she's like, yeah, they just don't do a good job of like making her more independent. It's just more like instead of like the right. I don't know if there was even a right way to in context of that story make it better in terms of like having a female character. They just they go the wrong way, like they go there's two exits and like that meme they just go to the other highway. So yeah, it's just yeah, and it's just I don't know, there's like stuff where it's like Mark Hamill comes back as Joker, and he's always wanted a voice, I guess, that iteration of the Killing Joke, and he does a good job and stuff. And like, there's good aspects of Killing Joke in terms of like Batman or like the relationship with him and Joker. But yeah, just all the sort of 80s sort of like comic book. We're trying to make this like more like adult, and then it comes off as like problematic or just not good storylines to center on like assault or like sexual assault and stuff to make this more serious. And it's just I don't know, that adaptation is just it's a train wreck.
I mean, it sounds like the absolute worst story to bring in your ship, right?
Yeah,
because it was already gonna be an issue to adapt that in the modern day anyway.
Yeah, and that one's a really complicated one, even before all the Bruce Timm stuff, because it's like paraplegic Barbara Gordon has become such like a staple of appreciation and like representation for many comic book fans. But how she got there is very complicated. So it's like I don't envy anyone trying to make a Batgirl thing. I'd be interested in them making a movie. Oh, wait, well, never mind. Can't see that anymore. But that one, it's if someone out there has it, go ahead and leak it because you'll be a hero. But anyways, like it's that's such a hard one, especially. It is almost kind of unfortunate that that's the one we jump to immediately in this discussion. Not a wrong thing, nothing to be ashamed of. Just like, damn, there's like so many like needles you have to thread to like even like start talking about that story. Like you had to do a preamble into it.
I feel like the responses we got were great because I thought we'd get good answers, but I also thought we might get people just like, oh, I really like this movie and I like those comics and it's a good adaptation. But then it's like, you jump in with Killing Joke and it's like, okay, yeah, this is complicated. Another example given by the same user is, I'm not even sure if I'm saying their users, but I'm guessing they're fine with it. And it's a Discord username, so I guess it's all bullshit anyway. So this is Spider-Man. It is a Spider-Man Discord, so this was going to happen. He also brought up Justice League Unlimited.
Good attention.
Animated series, which I have not seen any of that. I've seen some of that universe, but not the Justice League cartoons. And he brings up another Alan Moore story for The Man Who Has Everything, which was adapted into one of the early episodes of that show. Have either of you seen that show? Because it's a blind spot for me.
We're both big fans of that
Love
show.
It. Yeah,
and that episode in particular. That's my favorite Superman comic. That episode is top 5 of that series for me, if not number 1. The only reason I'm not saying number 1 is because there's a lot of great episodes in that show, and technically, I guess like its predecessor, it's the same show, but they just kind of changed the title. I'm sure there's like a tax reason they did that or whatever, but like it's basically the same show. It's just the first
more
version.
Superheroes.
Yeah, more superheroes, because the first 2 seasons are like it's the 7 members of the Justice League and you follow their stories, and there's supporting characters that pop up too. But Unlimited is like, well, now you're following the Green Arrow episode. Now you're following the Question. Oh, what? All these things are connected. And there's a Cadmus arc that fans know is like just epic. It's so cool. But yeah, that episode is fantastic. I think it's a great adaptation for The Man Who Has Everything.
It's amazing.
I've heard good things about that show, but as an outsider, I wouldn't have guessed that they would be, going that close and actually going to individual stories and, adapting Alan Moore,
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm mistaken, I think that is the one episode they do that with. Everything else is very like inspired by.
Yeah.
Like Hawk Girl has this. Hawk Girl is my favorite in that show. She gets such a great arc, especially in that middle section. And I don't think that's anything from the comics. It's just this is what the Anagar is about in this universe, and it's like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah. That was such a good show. I think that's even people hype up Batman the animated series. I think I would rank Justice League a bit higher than Batman, even though that's a good show. Yeah, because it's just like it's so adult too. Well, it's like adult where it's like mature in the sense where it's like they don't, it's a kid show, but they're like, put like not conspiracy, but like put stuff about the government being corrupt, or like,
Mhm.
like these heavy themes. And it's like, yeah, they trusted the audience to understand it. And it's like, yeah, I think like a lot of younger viewers, understood like the gist of it, what they were going for. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean
that
that
show.
that show is probably the first time I heard the conversations about like how far is too far with the
Hmm.
a super powered person, like every once in a while clips will go around from that show and be like, this is the Superman I love. And it's like, I love other
Hmm.
Supermen too, but I kind of agree. It's like
Yeah.
maybe he's not always right in the show also.
Yeah.
He has hangups, like because they're treated like human beings or three-dimensional characters. And he's like, truth and justice in the American way a lot of the time. And then if something's like related to dark side, because he's got
Yeah, he
like
hates them.
beef with him from his own show, everyone's like, dude, chill out. And he's like, no, I'm gonna fucking kill this fucker. And it was like,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa,
he tries to
whoa.
kill Darkseid too in
Yeah,
in the context of the show. Like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like circumstances that happen, but yeah, he's out to like stop this. Basically, they make Darkseid like, well, he's like a dictator in terms of like a dictator, like in the 2000s era, I would say.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, no. Dark Side when because he gets a lot of his great stuff with the Superman animated series, and he
Yeah.
pops up in the Justice League stuff once in a while. But like, yeah, it's great. And so to bring it back to for the man who has everything, which is Mongol is the villain of that
Mongol Eric
story.
Roberts.
Eric
Eric
Roberts is
Roberts is
voicing
Mongol.
Mongol is
Eric Roberts.
Yeah,
yeah, he's
He pops
terrific.
up in the strangest places.
he
Oh, he
does.
does. A man loves a
Yeah.
paycheck. Man loves to work. And that, hey, get that bag, son. But he's
Yeah.
great as Mongol in
Mhm.
that, and that story is very. I don't. You're not familiar with that story, you said, right?
No, it's on my reading list now, but
Mm.
yeah, don't know anything
Okay.
about it.
Okay. Well, the basic setup is that Wonder Woman and Batman in the show are going to surprise Kal-El at the Fortress of Solitude for his birthday. Like what do you get for the man who has everything? Hence the title.
Mhm.
And when they get there, there's something attached to his chest, and it has him in a dreamlike state. It's like some
Black
plant
Mercy.
thing. Yeah, the Black
Yeah.
Mercy, it's called. And what he's dreaming about is his life had Krypton never exploded, to be with the parents he never knew, to have a
Oh.
family he could have had. And so it's like when they're trying to break him out of it, part of him doesn't want to leave, you
Mhm.
Mhm.
know? And then also Mongol's there and he's like, fucking shut up.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
yeah, it's great.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's a fantastic episode. Everyone go watch that show just to get to that episode.
Going with what you were both saying about how that show deals with mature themes in a way that
Mhm.
kids can understand. Another example we got from the Discord is something which I haven't thought about for a while, because I'd read the comics and saw the show in just like so far apart. But it's a great example. Spectacular Spider-Man
Mhm.
adapting Harry Osborn's drug addiction.
Mhm.
Proper like light bulb moment, because I think I'd read got deep into the Spider-Man comics and got a real idea of Harry Osborn in the comics a few years after I'd watched that show.
Mhm.
And now I think about it and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it, because in a plot way, like he's going through the same motions, but it's the high school, maybe more child friendly version of that. And I think that's actually one of the strengths of that show, was not just like doing a straight adaptation or something, like doing something like The Killing Joke and being like, we can just transplant this into a different
Mhm.
medium, but like this is going to have to be slightly altered, but we're going to keep like the character motivations and the emotional impact of those events. And I'm pretty sure you're both like pro Spectacular Spider-Man, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
big time.
canceled too
Big time.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, I need to rewatch it really, but they found a way to keep the mystery over the Green Goblin's identity and adapt that in a way which was different from the comics, because everyone sort of knows what's going on.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, it was great because Norman Osborn has been around in the comics for so long that people forget that that was the main drive of those early appearances, was like, who is this guy? And it was a big deal for him to unmask, and then
Yeah.
all the events that happened afterwards, you maybe overshadowed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. When I first saw it all the way through, because I had caught episodes before and I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then I watched all the way through and I'm like, yeah, this was fantastic. This is the best
Mhm.
Spider-Man show, like
Mhm.
bar none for me. I remember that first watch, I was like, yeah, it's a little disappointing. the revelation that Harry's the Green Goblin in this universe, but like I think I only felt kind of deflated because it was like the buildup was. I felt like they shot their shot too soon, And then season 2 comes around, you're like, oh no, this is way better. They
Yeah.
knew exactly
Yeah.
what they wanted to do. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
and made that
Yeah.
other arc even better once you get to the full revelation. But
Well, that's
yeah,
what
what
makes
a
the
good one.
loss of the third season even more tragic, because they make
Oh
it clear that they're
no.
really good at playing the long game, and you think that whatever they would have done in that third season would have been something special.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually got to interview Benjamin Diskin back in the
Mm.
Audience Everywhere days, and he had talked
Wow.
about. I mostly asked about Kids Next Door, and he was on some anime show that I never saw. I'm sorry, Ben, if you're listening to this.
Uh-huh.
But he mentioned that they were gonna do Carnage because they set him up in that
Yeah. He
asylum
has a
thing.
cameo.
Yeah, he's got a cameo. He can do that. Matt Gargan was gonna be in it. Hobgoblin was gonna be the next step of it, and he didn't know how they were gonna play it out, but that was gonna be the next step of that. And you could just tell he was still super excited to come back as Venom, because Venom was going to be another
He's a good
iteration
Venom.
of that. Yeah, he's my favorite Eddie Brock. Although Tom Hardy as the ultimate fail son is
Yeah.
pretty funny. But yeah, it was it just there's so much there, and like the great Greg Weisman, like one of the great writers in the industry. I think he does not get his
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
Like you could tell he had all this stuff worked out. He wanted to do like 5 seasons and then do like spin-off movies to do college years, and it was just like, dude, you were like just about 2 years too early with that stuff, And then by the time they wanted that, they didn't want his version of that, so it's like, damn.
Yeah, all the Sony, like Disney, acquisition of Marvel just really messed up
No
that
good
show.
has come from that for
No,
me.
not really.
It's the finger curl on the monkey's paw, It's like, boy, I wish
Yeah.
they had the Spider-Man rights back, and now I'm
Is
like,
it-
give them away.
Yeah, it's like The Simpsons, where it's like, I wish for a ham sandwich, not too much bread, not too much mustard. It's like the turkey's dry. Turkey's dry.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very specific way that they like messed it up.
Actually, both talking about Justice League Unlimited and Spectacular Spider-Man makes me think of Avengers of Mightiest Heroes.
Yes,
which actually
I love that show so much.
I haven't finished editing it yet, but we have a Patreon episode talking about that will be out. It'll probably be out by the time this episode is out, because me and Henry really wanted to talk about that. I'd seen it before and I made him watch it, and we both loved it. Great adaptation of a number of Marvel events and Avengers stories. It's so good that you think that the MCU really should have just like used it as like a blueprint and and just like, let's build out from this,
Yeah.
And then that's also another show that had 2 seasons and then was cancelled too soon.
Jeff Loeb, shaking my fist.
I won't go into too much detail on that because I talked about it for like an hour and a half. But like, you guys are fans of Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
I love that show.
Gene is a much bigger fan. I think you're both are much bigger fans of it than I am, but I do like it a lot. Like I'm not a hater or anything like that. Especially knowing what comes next, not just in the movies, but in the animated world.
Yeah, I just
it's rough.
Yeah, I obsess over that show.
Pretty much every Marvel animated show after the cancellation of those 2. I mean, I was pretty bitter. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't gonna like most of the stuff they put out. But also everything I've tried to dip my toe in, I've really just like bounced off, just it just hasn't worked for me at all. And that goes for the Avengers shows and the Spider-Man shows after that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they they are all, at the end of the day, they're for children. Like, and that doesn't mean we can't enjoy them as well. But I think there is just like a marked quality that dips, not just in animation, but just like at some point they're just making it to market their other productions, which tend to be the live action ones,
Advertisements.
The one I will absolutely give the pass for, and I haven't even seen a single frame of it outside of just like GIFs and Twitter videos, is like Spidey and His Amazing Friends or whatever. It's like they're like the little chibi ones, like that one's for literal babies. So if someone's like upset about that, that's different. For literal babies, they get the pass.
That's the only one, you just can't be mad about, because you're like, this is aggressively not for me, an adult man.
Yeah. If you pay bills, you don't get to be mad about that one.
Yeah, that's the trade-off. One last example from Discord, which is something actually me and Diego did like a joint article writing about way back when on the film website Audiences Everywhere, RIP, pouring out. Captain America Civil War, which Silver K says is a better adaptation of the comic event because they actually treat the conflict between Cap and Tony like they're both unwilling to fight each other because they're friends, and not like Cap is an angry general with not a bit of compassion in him, and Tony is a bootlicking manipulator who sends supervillains after children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the gist of the article we wrote, I'm pretty sure. Because we both sort of went back to read the comic, which was written by Mark Miller. And I think I really liked it when I first read it, but I think a lot of that was the shock factor of it, and some good artwork in it as well. But yeah, going back to it, it's like the character motivations. It's just it's quite like hateful, you know. Like none of these characters like each other. You don't like them.
It's Mark Millar is a hateful person.
Yeah,
He is.
and I think if you're a fan of Mark Miller's work, you've got to still admit that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a struggle, to be honest, not to talk about Mark Miller for the rest of this podcast because he is like the weirdest nexus point. Great at premises, and general plot outlines, maybe as well. Like I think the broad strokes can be really interesting. And some of it might also be like easy to dismiss after the fact, like something like Civil War. The idea of like superheroes fighting might not seem like, you know, a big deal, especially like that's a age-old tradition. But those particular heroes and it being sort of like a thing that splits the superhero community and the idea of a registration act and all this kind of stuff is really interesting. The actual writing, though, it doesn't do much for me. But the thing that like bothers me is that there's always this edge, this like mean-spiritedness, and it happens a lot. And I think you can count. You read a Mark Miller comic, it's pretty much always like a scene of a character being needlessly cruel. And the first thing that comes to mind actually is the Ultimates, which I loved the Ultimates when I first read it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people listening who love it too. Maybe if you go back, it won't be as good as you remember. And there's stuff in there like where there's just like a side scene or just like, you know, like there'll be two like shield soldiers and you see them sort of, you know, when the Ultimates are gone, when that version of the Avengers are gone, they just like push a child over, you know, and then it like cuts the next scene. You don't see those characters ever again. There's always just like this edge of like him getting a lot of like humor or like almost like taking like shortcuts to drama by just being like really heavy-handed with like cruelty, you know, just these huge events happening. That's definitely true like Civil War, which as Silver K goes on to say that the movie treats the idea of friends fighting because of what they believe is right with more respect. I like that part of the Civil War movies so much that there's lots of other problems with that movie that it took me quite a few watches before they started to bother me, you know, because I think that central thing of having two characters who really, really don't want to fight being put into a situation where by the time they do have their big showdown, it's kind of like a painful thing to witness. It's not really like a fist pumping moment, you know. It's kind of like you're seeing like their friendship fall apart, and that's not really the case with the comic. But it's also like I think you can just kind of track it with almost every major thing he's written that has had an adaptation, right? I haven't read Kick-Ass, but from everything I know about it, it's kind of like the movie, but like what if, you know, we just use sexual assault as a plot device, you know, and
he does that a lot too.
And he's on record saying that he thinks, rape is a great tool to show that the bad guy is bad. It's interesting because he's such a, you know, a big force in comics and has had a lot of success, and, you know, there is reason for some of that success, but there's also like, you know, it's the most like blunt, you know, like brute force way to write things sometimes.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. Like, I mean, like he just is. Like
Yeah,
a
he was for
statement
like
like that
Brexit.
is so.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, he was pro Brexit, which
he's
is
for
bad enough.
Brexit.
But like that
Mhm.
statement, because I remember him. I remember seeing that statement he made about using rape as a device like that, and
Yeah,
it's like that's so revealing and so gross and so repugnant. Like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
and
Just
all of this stuff just has that element of weirdness, like you're talking about. Like, I can't support anyone reading his comics.
mhm.
I definitely don't support him as a human
Yeah.
being at this point. Like
No.
that's like even without like his terrible real world life politics, like just
Mhm.
statements like the one you just mentioned are so
Mhm.
bad that I'm like, oh, you're weird, dude. Like,
Yeah. Just
um,
just read Grant Morrison comics instead
yeah.
of Mark Millar.
Now I have to eat a little bit of crow though because the one Mark Millar comic I do like is Wanted, and
Mhm.
it has
Oh.
these same fucking problems. It has
Mhm.
truly garbage, reprehensible shit, but I also
Mhm.
think it's an artist at their most open about what they think is
Mm.
like cool. So I find it kind
Mhm.
of fascinating that it's so open and honest about what he thinks of like the worlds he's playing in, like
Yeah.
unabashedly, just so open. There's a villain literally made out of like feces in that, and he's
Yeah.
called like
Right.
Shipment or something like that, and
God.
it's ridiculous, but he would be canceled if that came out today, and he would be right to be canceled for that.
Yeah.
So it's like a fascinating artifact that completely like
Well,
describes him for me, you know.
yeah.
Actually, yeah, I mean, and with the stuff he's done, like in, you know, mainstream Marvel comics, there's lots of stuff there that I think, you know, people wouldn't be nearly as happy about today because I don't want to spend too long talking about it because
Oh
Yeah.
it
yeah,
is
Yeah.
like the
sorry.
the
Yeah.
not even Mark Miller, the thing I'm about to talk about, which is
Mm.
even potentially even thornier subject, which is the current run of Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh no.
Oh,
Um,
Yeah. Infamous.
and
Yeah.
a lot of the thing that's going around, in fact, we have I made a
Yeah. I
separate
saw.
thread on Discord just for talking about that run because it's almost like maybe someone's going to come in here and be like, I don't want to talk about this, you know.
Yeah.
But one of the things I keep seeing is that there's a popular opinion that Zeb Wells, the writer of the current run,
Mhm.
is writing in a mean spirited way,
Mm.
or that he, you know, there's an element of hate
Yeah.
to the way he's writing. I'm not sure how I feel about that as a general thing on what I've read of it so far,
Mhm.
but like some of the stuff that people are getting mad about, I'm like, that's like every other line of a Mark Miller
Yeah.
comic. But you know, a lot of that stuff maybe was, you know, 2010 or before,
Mhm.
maybe before people were posting screenshots of leaks on Twitter
Yeah.
or something. But I also wanted to mention because you brought up Grant Morrison.
Mhm.
Mark Miller was like his Padawan,
Mhm.
mhm.
and they had a, you know, a break.
Yeah.
And there's
Huge
this
falling out.
quote. There's a quote from Morrison
Oh yeah.
where he was asked about Mark Miller after this point. I think in like 2011 or something,
Mhm.
and he said, "I wish him well, but no, there is no good feeling between myself and Mark Miller for many reasons, most of which are that he destroyed my faith in human fucking nature."
Yeah.
And I
Oh.
just, they really tickled me.
Yeah.
uh,
There was like a postscript of that where the thing is like, well, what if you both live in like Scotland or Glasgow? Like, what if you see Mark Millar? Grant's like, I hope I'm going like 1,000 miles an hour. The level of like disdain they must have for fucking Mark Millar is just
I
like,
get it, Grant. I get it.
yeah, I get it too.
You're a legend. They're a legend.
I was thinking about that idea of Mark Miller, like having great ideas, maybe more of an ideas man than you know, executing that.
Yeah. Mhm.
And maybe that's, you know, why something like I like that first Kick-Ass movie because it is a great concept, and maybe if you
Mhm.
take some of the basics of it, it can actually help to veer off course a bit and technically be a little bit less faithful, or at least not like exactly accurate, and it ends up making a better product in some ways. Earlier today, actually, I read and watched Superman Red Sun,
Mm.
which I'd heard of Superman Red Sun before because, you know, the premise is like, you know, a striking one. For anyone who doesn't know, it's the idea of what if when Superman was sent to Earth from Krypton, what if he landed in Soviet Russia rather
hmm
than Kansas, and him becoming a superpower of a different superpower and how that would change it. It's definitely an interesting idea. Having read the comic, I didn't hate it,
hmm
but like it's definitely like it definitely has issues, and it I was hoping just to go with the narrative I'd come up with.
hmm
I was like, it would be kind of cool if I watched this animated movie, which was written by J.M. DeMatteis,
mm
and I was kind of hoping that that movie would like be a slam dunk, and I could be like, look, it happened again.
hmm
But it kind of like it improves on a lot of things, and it also has its own problems, I think.
Yeah.
But there were some like things like even at the start I was like, yeah, there's just some easy ways to tidy up this story that they did in the animated movie on a basic level, like having Wonder Woman have a reason to do anything she does in that story.
Yeah.
You know, like whether or not those motivations are like, gripping or whatever is another story, but like the idea of giving her a reason to do anything, it still kind of has meant that like I don't know if there's a Mark Miller comic I've read that hasn't like sort of disappointed me in some way. But he's like, there's quite a lot of adaptations of his work now. Like I'm sure I've
Yeah.
like missed a couple of big ones.
For Marvel, yeah.
I mean, even Wanted got an adaptation, and of
Wanted.
course
Oh yeah.
they sanitized it to the best of their abilities.
Yeah.
And it's not about supervillains; it's just an assassins movie.
Assassins. Yeah.
And he wrote Kingsman as well.
Yes,
Kingsman,
that's the other
yeah.
big one, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That movie is kind of like it's got an edge to it,
Yeah, it's the first one's a problematic fave for me.
Yeah.
I don't claim the
Yeah.
others. I barely claim the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah, second one. Oh, I've never seen The King's Man either.
Oh, I finally
Right.
caught that actually.
Yeah. Ugh.
Fucking boring.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's also I have to mention this too because I think Matthew Vaughn is Mark Miller's like love child or something like that because their
Mhm.
politics are very similar.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's a revelation that because the first the prequel King's Man is about World War One, right? And it's like
Mhm.
at first they're kind of doing this thing where it's like all our boys are being sent off to war to die for people that don't even think about them after tea time or whatever the fuck, right? It's like,
Mhm.
is Matthew Vaughn coming to terms with some stuff here? This is kind of interesting. By the end, it's revealed that World War One is orchestrated by a Scottish lord who's fighting for Scottish independence from the Great Britain. And I was like, oh fuck this.
Yeah.
That's insulting. That's just straight up evil.
Yeah.
That wouldn't the reason that's freaking me out more is because I was reading about how Mark Miller like kind of like completely like flip-flopped on initially being pro Scottish independence and then has now publicly been anti Scottish independence. So that's just a very interesting thing to know.
Yeah, just wow. And we haven't even gotten to the Hitler post-credit scene yet.
Yeah, they make Hitler like
This is not a
MCU
joke.
Thanos like reveal like saving them for the it's insane. It's an insane movie.
It sounds like, oh, I gotta watch this. It's so crazy. No, it's really just fucking boring.
Yeah.
There's one here. I'll give the movie one piece of good credit, like I do with all of Mark Millar's bullshit, even though I probably shouldn't. You guys don't give a shit, so I'm just gonna spoil it, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy who you think is like, oh, this is the World War One version of Eggsy, right? Like this is the lead of the prequel version of this franchise. He dies fighting in World War One, like from friendly fire, and it's like right there. It's like there's something thematically interesting where it's like the face of what's going to be the future has been stolen because of a war that no one even knows who's fighting who or why. And it's like that right there. It feels very honest. Unfortunately, it feels very truthful to the events of World War One and tragic to all wars. It's fucking bullshit, right? But no, that's not important though, because Ralph Fiennes now needs to go stop the bad guy who got his son tossed into World War One and to get killed.
Yeah.
He's actually just fighting for Scottish independence. This is the craziest shit I've ever seen.
I think a lot of them, like, they're really there with the premise, but it's like once you ask all those interesting questions, like where are you going with them? And I don't think it ever either doesn't go anywhere or it ends up in a spot where you're like, really? That's the point you're making?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. I just had a look and the the big one that I'd forgotten about is Logan, because
Oh
the
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
old
Oh yeah,
man,
How did we
Logan.
miss that?
yeah, old man
Yeah.
Logan. Those comics, I haven't read all of them, but I
Yeah.
remember loving the premise, the idea of like, a sort of post-apocalyptic, the
Marvel.
last X-Men kind of, in this desolate Mad Max Marvel world, and then reading it and being like, oh, there's like incestuous Hulk hillbillies, and
Yeah.
they like eat his family, or like
Yeah.
it was just immediately like, going for the shock factor rather than having anything really
Say.
yeah, interesting. And then Logan the
Yeah.
movie, I think, is one of my favorite
Hmm.
superhero movies, and I think it slims it down a lot, but like does a lot more
Yeah.
with the basic premise.
Oh man. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that comic is so rough. It's
I mean,
like,
I think that's why we forgot to mention it, is because the movie's so different, thankfully, from the
mhm,
comic.
thank
Yeah.
Because the
God.
movie is good. Most people would even agree it's great. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
if I know it's some people's favorite superhero movie, and it's like
Hmm.
I'm at that point where I don't really argue with that. It's not my
Yeah.
favorite one, but it's up there for sure.
Yeah. It's like you could respect that choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like it'd be really weird to even bring back Hugh Jackman Wolverine for anything else at that point. I think that would be kind of insulting, to be honest, because that's
Give
such a
them,
fitting,
oh
perfect
man.
ending for that
Yeah.
character. It's a
But
movie
you got,
star movie too. Like Hugh
uh-huh.
Jackman, like a lot of these movies don't have like a real face. You're there for the brand,
Yep.
Like I'm just
Yeah.
pulling a name out of a hat, like Shang-Chi or something like that.
Hmm.
Which could have been very special, but
Hmm.
it starred
Mhm.
someone without charisma. And yeah, it's like you now I'm thinking about how good Logan was, and like
Yeah.
just
All
yeah, I should
timer.
go watch that again.
You want to see him in the yellow suit. They really just wanted that.
I
Adapt
can't,
it.
I can't, I can't lie. I don't want to be completely dishonest. I do really
Yeah.
want to see the suit.
I mean,
I
like in an
get it. I do
arbitrary
get
way,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, want to see another actor, I guess. Like, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Deadpool 3. Yeah.
On
Hmm.
the note of this kind of stuff, is there anything that comes to mind of stuff that you think is like an improvement on the source material?
Oh, yeah.
I mean Logan.
I mean, Logan, yeah.
Logan's the big one.
Just in terms of like Mark Millar, or just like in general.
Just in general, although like it could be the Mark Miller podcast.
Oh, yeah.
oh, here.
Hmm,
Oh, here, sorry, go ahead, Gene. Go ahead. Because I have one that's
um,
not Mark Millar related.
yeah. I was gonna say something like something recently. TMNT Mutant Mayhem, I think really
Oh,
like took interesting choices in like how they adapted like the turtles and like Master Splinter, like changes they made where it's like Baxter Stockman doesn't become a fly, he like creates a mutant that's like his son that's like a fly, or just like some of the choices of like how they're adapting like why the turtles want to like crime fight, because it's like they want to be accepted by like humans and stuff, and like it's like them dealing with it. So I thought that was like pretty like interesting. They made like interesting choices. Like if you're gonna deviate from the source material of like the comics lore, like just do something like interesting. I think, yeah. So that's like one that just comes to mind, and it's
Yeah.
also a great movie. I loved it.
I've not seen that one yet, but my pick is actually another animated movie. Maybe
Hmm.
there's a trend people should pick up
Yeah.
on with these movies. Try to make them more animated and get creative with them. The Spider-Verse movies. The
Hmm.
Spider-Verse comic
oh,
is kind of like
100%.
it's like exciting when you first start it, and then again, it's not as grotesque or vile as a Mark Millar comic by any means, but it's also
Mhm.
just like I don't give a shit about any of
Hmm.
this. There's one good moment where Gwen and Peter of 616 are
Oh yeah.
talking, and they couldn't save each other's versions in their universes, so they agreed to look out for each other. It's very sweet. It's very
Yeah.
Mhm.
emotional. The rest of it, I don't. Who gives a fuck? Sorry,
Yeah. You
Dan
collected
Slott.
all those issues though.
I back then I did, yeah. Now I
Yeah.
don't. I
Yeah.
sold them
You're
off a
like,
while back. But
oh,
the
that's good.
movies, they have everything I don't want to see in a Spider-Man thing, which we talked about in the episode, so I don't want to
Uh-huh.
spend too long on it.
Yeah.
And they make it all so purposeful for the purpose of character or
Mhm.
theme
Hmm.
or even just story structure. It's absurd how good those are.
There's like a thematic reason why they're talking about different kinds of Spider-Man.
Hmm.
And also they make the choice, which seems obvious now, but like the genius move of like, okay, but this is Miles's movie. This is the
Yeah.
Miles Morales movie. And I did have a thought the other day. I was like, you know what? I'd still prefer to watch a that kind of movie with the animation it has and the writing it has, but just about Miles.
Yep.
Because I still don't like the Spider-Verse concept really. It's never been that interesting to me.
Yeah.
But they do like the best job you can possibly do with it. And I think the original Spider-Verse event that was written by Dan Slott,
Yeah.
at the time, I remember thinking, I hate this idea, but he kind of pulled it off, which is kind of how I responded to like a good like 90% of Dan Slott's Spider-Man stories of like, I hate this idea, but it kind of worked.
Yeah.
But then the sequels, Spider-Geddon, it was
No.
just more of the same. And I recently read End of Spider-Verse, which is one of the worst Spider-Man comics I've read in a long time on so many fronts. It felt like no one who made that comic, it didn't feel like Dan Slott wanted to write it. Like maybe it was like we're doing a third one with or without you. Got Mark Bagley art, but it's some of the worst art I've seen from Mark Bagley, who I like, but I think he must have been overworked or something, because there's just a lot of like a bunch of different Spider-Man characters just floating in space, having quips at each other. And they also did something that bothers me, which is bringing in a one-off villain, Shafra, who was in Straczynski on his run of Spider-Man. He brought in her as a villain for a couple of issues. I thought she was excellent, and she was like a great, scary one-off villain, and then was like a sort of one and done. And then it's like, actually, we're going to bring her back, and also she is like the true enemy of the Spider-Verse, and so it was also like kind of stepping on comics that I did like as well.
Yeah, Dan Slott keeps stealing the JMS villains because like uses Merlon. And now this character.
Yeah, Morland was another great villain that should have been a one-off, I think. Or well, maybe not even a one-off, but like a sparse use,
Yeah,
I hope none of those characters make it to the movies.
I
don't think they would translate.
No.
Yeah, I mean they barely work like in the comics now.
Yeah,
like you're saying, so it's like. And they're scraping the bottom of the barrel with these adaptations at this point. Apologies to the great JC Chandor, a great filmmaker who clearly needed to pay rent, which is why he's directing Craven.
Craven, God,
sorry, man. Best of luck to you on your next feature. But like, it's just at some point, I mean, just to get all fucking political for a second, it's like you have all these great weird artists, maybe not even great, but just weird enough to make all this stuff really exciting and popular for kids, and people grew up with it. And you got like these one-off villains or short-term villains, and it's like exciting and fresh. And then it's like, oh well, here are the rights to our comics industry companies. They're getting tighter. You're going to make less money. Because I always used to think like, well, why don't they just make new characters? And it's like, well, people got to read them, which is one problem. That's a separate problem, but people got to read them. And then people also have to like understand that they're not going to own the stuff they write anymore. The company will now own it. So it's like they're just going to be regurgitating all this stuff because, well, it's cheaper to just keep everything in-house at this company. These Marvel Comics, DC Comics, other companies too, Image and stuff like that too, right? Although that's a whole other can of worms. And so they're never allowed to grow and change. So they just keep going back to the library of characters they got, and like, who could I pull from now? All right, here we go. That's why, like Peter Parker doesn't change anymore. It's more they think it's more profitable for him to stay the same, even though that's not even true.
Yeah, he goes back. He goes like they do something like kind of interesting, becomes like I don't know, like a millionaire or like a teacher, but then they're like, no, photographer, single guy. Yeah,
I think like I said I wouldn't talk about this, but the current Spider-Man run.
Which you're reading, right? You're reading the.
Yeah, I'm like I'm still like a bit behind because I do it on Marvel Unlimited.
Yeah.
So I often see like people getting mad about stuff before I actually get to read the comic. I think I'm probably one of the most positive people on the internet about it. Which is why I don't talk about it on the internet very much. But I think like. I don't think it's particularly good. I also don't think like Spider-Man comics have been good for like over a decade. But it doesn't bother me too much because I've spent a lot of time in recent years like reading old Spider-Man comics, and there's so much good stuff out there that, at a certain point I kind of like, I come into modern Spider-Man comics not expecting much. I think that one of the big reasons why people are very incensed about the current stuff is not just because they're pulling some like crazy moves, but they're just doing it in a much more like outrageous way than
Yeah.
usual. But it's actually kind of the, like you said, it's the same stuff that's been happening, which is there was a point. Oh man, I gotta think, if you're reading Spider-Man comics for the first time and you go on like Marvel Unlimited and you're like, you have to scroll down for a long ass time to get to volume 1 for one
Yeah.
thing. That's dumb. Fix that already.
hmm
But then you'll see volume 1 is like 1962 to 1999. Volume 2 is 1999 to 2011 or something.
Yeah.
And then since then, we're now on like volume 8 or something.
Yeah. They keep
Like,
rebooting it.
they keep
Yeah.
rebooting, and each time it's like, okay, well, that was Superior Spider-Man, and that kind of worked in its own way. But then it's like, now he's the CEO. Actually, no, we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Actually, we're gonna spend this entire time retconning everything everyone hated about modern Spider-Man comics.
Yeah.
Actually, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna reboot it again. And it doesn't help that this current run, Zeb Wells he's actually returning to an old story of his he wrote. There was just like a 2-issue arc, I think when Dan Slott was on the book, or sort of modern era. But he just wrote like a 2-issue arc about there's a snowstorm in New York.
Oh yeah.
And he's
Wolverine is in it.
Wolverine is in it, and he's basically ends up fighting this like Mayan like god of mischief or something. And it's like, it's a pretty decent story. But like, he obviously like liked that idea, because then when he became the Spider-Man writer for this volume, he went back to that. So it can be jarring to be like, oh, we're getting a reset, but the reason why Mary Jane and Peter aren't together is because she spent like 6 months in an alternate universe that she was sent to because of a Mayan god of death.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like, the note is being passed along the table, like, you got to break these two up, or we think people are going to read this comic if Norman Osborn is a good guy. Stuff like that, which I think a lot of people would react to badly. But, like trying to make the best of it. And I think there's always a mixed bag, but it's just so outrageous lately.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's kind of more funnier to me. I'm not really like personally insulted because I'm like, I've had my 70 years of Spider-Man comics, and it's really, really hard to dilute that, But this is, I don't know if you guys want to talk about that a little more. But
yeah, sure.
I just went off on a tangent and I forgot why I was talking about it.
Oh, it's like adaptation. I was just gonna add that, like, the thing for me with that run is like, I agree, it's jarring, but it's also like so odd, like some of the choices they make, but also too, like the previous, I don't know if it was a previous run, but when like Wells was like co-writing the book with like other writers, like for like all the Beyond stuff, I'm like, oh wow, I really enjoy this, like Ben Reilly replacing Spider-Man, and then like like, and then like it's like, him dealing with like, okay, like what is Spider-Man, because it's like a corporation takes over the brand, and it's like he gets like copyrighted, or he's in like a coma, and it's like him coping with his insecurities, and I'm like, oh man, this run's going good. And then I think I stopped at a certain point because I collected all of those like in trades, and then like you kind of go back and like, what is going on here, because the time skip.
I mean, it was bringing Ben Reilly back and him becoming the new Spider-Man was the hook of a start of a new story. And I was interested in that. It did get me to read the book when I was considering dropping off. And then they drop it after like 10 issues or something like that. And you realize, oh, they weren't actually, doing this, which is why in this new one, like everything that is like making people mad, they're also going to drop this in like a year's time.
Yeah.
Which is actually way more frustrating than if they stuck to a bad idea.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like make up its mind on like what it is, or I don't know. Yeah, it's just because it's like I get like, like the frustration, but like, I'm like you, where it's just yeah, kind of like, I'm also like an adult too, because it's like, if these books aren't for me, I'm just gonna not read it. And then too, like the continuity is just gonna like change eventually. So like I don't get like outraged, but yeah, it does seem like a little frustrating. I'll say that. Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, Gene. I think, has anyone just stopped to think, not just
Hmm.
the idiots running the show, we all just need to take a second and stop and think, who is this for? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not, this isn't even like a critique of anyone, just like generally
Yeah.
it's just an important place to start thinking about. Like,
Hmm.
who is this Spider-Man comic for? Is it for the people that read 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Is it for the kids that are reading today? Is it for the adults reading today? Is it for the people that really just like things the way they are and they don't
Yeah.
want things to change ever, 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 ever?
Hmm.
Which really, I mean, I keep complaining about that, but it's so frustrating because it's like this model is clearly not working. You're losing money every
Yeah.
year. The comics industry isn't really a profitable industry anymore,
No,
if it
exactly.
ever was at that point. You're not gonna be the new Stan Lee because they're not allowing the new Stan Lees to pop up.
Yeah.
But to narrow that argument down a little bit more, like, who is this comic for? Not just Spider-Man, not just Batman,
Yeah.
not just, although Batman seems to have a better track record than a
Hmm.
lot of other people. Who's this Wonder Woman for? Who's this Green Lantern for? Who is even fucking Kingsman 7 or whatever? Who is that
Yeah.
for? You know what I mean? It's for conservatives. But like the rest of this stuff, like what are you doing here? How do
Yeah.
you get new readers? Probably not by rebooting and shuffling things around so they're more like when you read Spider-Man comics,
Yeah.
or any comics. Just, don't, if you stay the same, it's like you're not going to bring anyone else on board. And if you don't ask, like, who is this for at the end of the day? If the answer is not new readers,
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people are in trouble financially
Hmm.
in these comics industries. So the people up top need to be allowing better decisions to be made because they're not making the right ones, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always strange when you see something happen, which because if I feel like something isn't for me, you kind of want to take the step back and be like, okay, maybe it's not for me, and that's fine.
Hmm.
But then when there's that other thing where you're like, oh, I think they're actually kind of alienating new readers as well because this
Yeah.
is very confusing,
Yeah.
and it's very hard to, it's not accessible. But there's also like it has all the negative qualities that can come with putting new readers first, as well.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, actually, now you're just like kind of taking the bad points of like both approaches, and no one is
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
um, Actually,
Uh-huh.
this kind of like I was going to ask this in the intro, but I completely forgot. What
Mhm.
is your general like comic reading like habits now? Are you guys
Mm.
like still reading, or are you like? Because I know I've had points where I've read, as much as I can for a 2 year period, and then I've had
Yeah.
like a few years where I'm not reading anything.
Yeah. I would say I'm kind of like you, where it's like I like going to the comic book store, like because I don't know. I like enjoying it. So I try to like at least pick up at least like one book a month. But yeah, lately I find like what I'm buying is like certain like writers or like certain things that like storylines that are like out of continuity mostly. So it's like stuff where it's like, the Riddler miniseries that's in the continuity of like the Batman and it's written by like Paul Dano. I'm like collecting because it's like I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to know like what's going on with the characters because it's like I don't know, like I know like the general gist, like okay, like the X-Men live on another planet, Batman, like Alfred is dead, but like, like I'm not like or like not invested, but like I don't need to know everything. Or like
Mm-hmm.
something like Spider-Man like life story. Yeah, like right now, like it's just like it's hard to read like the current runs. Like every run I see is like bi-monthly. So it's like stuff where it's like, oh, really good. Like Batman, I think, is written the new one. Oh, I forgot the writer. Damn it. Well, anyway, yeah, it's actually really interesting what they're doing. So I'll collect it. But yeah, I kind of like have like starts and stops where collecting it like Tom King's Batman like religiously, and then as soon as he changes, like all right, dropping it. The stuff I'm buying is just more like out of continuity stuff.
Yeah, I read more now than I did probably 3 or 4 years ago, which I didn't at all.
Hmm.
I don't pick up any stuff from the big two anymore.
Yeah.
Like I hear, again, like I mentioned, the Batman stuff. Like, Batman tends to have a pretty good track record when it comes to
Yep.
comics. Very rarely do you hear people being like, "I'm gonna fucking riot because I read this Batman comic." That doesn't really happen. That
Yeah.
sometimes, I'm sure, I'm just forgetting some recent ones probably, but not really a problem with that character. Although I almost did join the riots when I heard they were going to break up Batman and Catwoman getting
Oh
married or
yeah,
whatever. Did that
they're
happen,
like
Gene?
it's weird. They're like separated kind of in the sense like it's not like they're still legally married, but like they're letting each other like do different things. Like they're not living together. It's yeah, they're not
Yeah, see
basically
that's that
yeah.
comic book bullshit. Like, well, they can't be together forever. It's like, yeah, they
Yeah,
can.
but they
Uh,
didn't like they didn't like do like a brand new or was it one more day
yeah,
sort of
yeah,
thing. So I
yeah,
appreciate it. They didn't like, all right, now Tom King wanted them to be married. Now they're not married.
yeah.
So at least they respected the continuity,
Yeah,
kind
Well,
of.
it's the
Yeah.
best case scenario of a worst
yeah.
case scenario.
Yeah.
I don't want to scare you too much, but before One More Day, there was a period where Peter and Mary Jane were separated,
Oh
Oh, that's right.
no.
which
That's
was
right.
actually a really good period of the comic, which I really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah.
because they dealt with it in a very adult way, and then they
Hmm.
get back together. I think that was like actually like right at the end of the good times. You know, I've
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a issue I can't remember exactly what issue it is, but it's sort of pre-Civil War, early 2000s, where someone in the Discord brought it up actually where,
Hmm.
to me, where they were like, "This issue is the end of the Spider-Man story for me,"
Hmm.
and I'm really convinced by that because it's a really great issue where it's like about the legacy of Spider-Man, and he has like a conversation with Uncle Ben,
Hmm.
and him and Mary Jane are together, and it feels like an ending, and then it's like within a couple of years, it's
Yeah.
like the devil is here, and now
Yeah.
we're
So
everything is going fucking tits up.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why I don't pick up from the big two anymore. I don't read them.
Because of the
I
devil.
because of the
the
devil.
devil,
And then
the
I grew up
stuff.
very religious. So I'm
Yeah.
no longer religious, but it still haunts me, obviously. No, but I do go back and read stuff. Like I've started going back to old Green Arrow comics because
Mm.
I maybe to speak a little more politically, the opposite of Mark Millar. Green Arrow is a favorite superhero of mine because of his
Mhm.
very outspoken beliefs. And who the fuck doesn't like Robin Hood? That's just an inherently cool concept as a character. So like I went back to the Longbow Hunters recently, which
Mm.
is a great little like 4-issue arc, a little tenser than I remembered it being, even though I
Yeah,
knew
he
the
kills
outcome.
someone.
He
Yeah.
fucking kills someone, and it's like it carries through with that character's run. But I love stuff like I don't know if you guys have read I Hate Fairyland.
No.
It's
No?
written and drawn by Scotty Young. I believe he also wrote it, but it's
Okay.
his like little kind of like not chibi, but like kind of cutesy, wacky style. Like it's got more of an edge to it, and that one's very much living in a fantasy land for too long, and then this person starts losing their mind because they've been a child for like 30 years, and they're stuck in basically like an Alice in Wonderland type situation. It's great. I love that comic. Stuff like that, stuff a little off the beaten path. I'm just kind of discovering stuff as I go. I love seeing what like new people are coming up with.
Green Arrow is someone. The only thing I know about that, it's not even like the Arrow, CW show, but
Hmm.
the version of Green Arrow that was in Smallville is all I know about that character.
Oh, yeah.
So those comics you were talking about, is there any stories or like parts of that character that you were like, this is like really ripe for a movie adaptation, considering
Mm.
they've already done like spent a long time doing the TV show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like the TV show is a hot topic right now because
Mhm.
the face of the TV show, the titular Green Arrow, Stephen Amell, is in rightfully hot water for unfortunate comments about not really supporting the strike. No, I'm not going to mince words. He's not
Okay.
in support of it. Though I
Mhm.
bet he got a pretty heavy duty phone call because he was on the strike lines like 2 days ago
Yeah, he looks
before
so
this recording.
miserable. Yeah, he looks
I'm
so
sure
miserable.
his management and PR team had a very lengthy discussion with him.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
to get back to the Green Arrow thing, yeah, there's like everything about that. Like, I mean, not to just like be overexcited about it, but there's so much that wasn't captured on the show. The show I generally do like. I know people make fun of the CW stuff now, but like
Yeah.
the action on that show is generally like very, very good throughout the entire run until they get into the more superpowery stuff because it's always hard to get a street level hero to like how do you
Yeah.
fight magic beams? I don't know, whatever. His fucking
Yeah,
they got
I
Ragman in the
watched.
corner.
I never touched much of the CW stuff, but I did stick around for all 10 seasons of Smallville
Oh,
I get it.
to see
I get
him
it.
wear
yeah.
the costume for
Yeah.
20 seconds or so.
Yeah.
And like,
He were,
hey,
he were,
for the credit of the Arrow show, he is like the Green Arrow up front. They don't call him that. but
Mhm.
like it's not like it's still a leathery outfit, but it is like green, and he is wearing a hood. Like he looks like Robin Hood. They try to be like,
Yeah.
oh, he's cool and edgy, and it's like, yeah, I get why you're doing that, because Batman, the
Well,
Dark Knight trilogy just wrapped
yeah.
up,
Yeah.
but like it is
Also, like,
Robin Hood.
how do you strip that back more? If you're not going to be accurate with that, right? Like, is he going to be like, I'm Green Arrow, but I just have a fucking gun instead?
Yeah,
Like, what else are
Yeah.
they going to do?
Yeah.
But yeah, like stuff specifically they could draw from. They really kind of dial back the political aspect of the character
Yeah.
in the TV show, because the comic character is like, fuck the man, the system is corrupt. It's not, I've been on the other side of the system.
Mhm.
I'm part of the level of society that takes advantage of people, and I'm doing this because I don't want to live with myself if I have to stand by as nobody helps these other people. I'm in a position of power to help these people, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't care how I do it. I'm just not going to take a human life. And then the Longbow Hunters, he does, and he does work with a government agent. He's kind of like playing multiple sides. Like it's kind of like a crime story. They're following like a serial killer, and then there's this whole other thing with like a black ops organization revealed to be the CIA, like an outlet of the CIA. Like it's actively the CIA. Also, it's not like, oh, it's Shield in the government
Right.
that's wrong.
Yeah.
It is the Central Intelligence Agency, and it's him making a big mistake by the end of that comic, and he has to learn to live with that later. And it does, unless I'm mistaken, Gene, I remember that also breaking up him and Black Canary. It messes up their relationship, because even though he protects her by killing someone, like he did take a human life, and that's not a thing they do.
Right.
I didn't even think about bringing this up in the conversation, but me and Henry were fans of Birds of Prey, the movie, which had like a different Black Canary, right? But they insinuate like maybe like her mother was maybe the original Black Canary or something. I might be misremembering that.
No,
but I don't know anything about Black Canary, so I don't know.
Oh, she's awesome.
Because that might be an instance, right, of like where they didn't do it exactly the same as the comic, but it still worked for some reason.
Yeah, and I really like that movie. I don't want to speak for Gene as well, but I remember us being very positive. Yeah. It's like the upper echelon of the recent DC stuff.
Yeah,
it's like that and Aquaman I really loved. Yeah, that Black Canary, if I remember correctly too, because it's been a minute since I saw that movie. I think she still has the name Dinah Lance.
Dinah, yeah.
Okay.
Her mom was like the original Black Canary, and then that was like kind of the precipice of that character's introduction in what would have been the rest of that universe, I guess.
Yeah.
So do you think, right, the idea of there being another, predecessor that is kind of off screen, it happened in the past, is that something to appease fans who are like all about it being exactly accurate, so that they can have their headcanon of, oh, the thing I wanted, that happened off screen, so therefore I'm satisfied? Because there's a type of fan, I think, that their brain does work that way,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's exactly why it's like that. Because, like, I like that movie a lot. I don't think that point needs to be in there. I think that character, for just to use her as an example, since we were talking about it already, I think her arc in that movie about like having enough, not just confidence, but having the moral backbone in a world with people without those backbones, right? It's just like everyone's just a scumbag in that movie, basically.
Yeah.
For her arc to like overcome that and become like someone that helps other people instead of just trying to survive, like you get that without the mom stuff. You don't need the mom thing there. It's just like a throwaway line, anyways. Too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I felt that like they just used to. Yeah, she was kind of like a legacy character, but I don't know. Yeah, I felt like you could have just ignored it, like stuff or just kept it vague too. Like I think for like Justice League, like Wally West, it's just the Flash. They don't mention like another Flash, or there could have been. So like there's ways to like adapt it where it's like vagueness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not so much of a DC Comics reader. I've read some Batman, and I've read like a lot of like the big graphic novels, that kind of stuff. But I can always imagine that like the idea of being accurate to like DC Comics must be like really daunting because even times when I've been like, oh, what's the deal with Supergirl? And then it's like, why are there so many subsections on this Wikipedia page? Wait, why does every character now have like 3 or 4 different backstories because the universe got rebooted so many times. And I think like at that point, it's got to be like a little difficult to figure out what is the most authentic version of a character, right?
Yeah, and I think Gene and I will have at least one disagreement right now. Because I think the obvious point of discussion has to be Batman, and is what is the most essential part of like the Batman iconography. Like everyone knows the silhouette and the ears, right, and the cape. That's easy enough to get. You can do that with a 5-year-old child. You throw a bed sheet over them.
And you can do that in a promo for the Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that.
You remember that?
That was funny. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that, and from there, the conversation has to be like, well, what are the aesthetics of the character? Like, Tim Burton brought his own gothic, like German expressionist sensibilities to the character.
Looks cool.
And they look great, and I think that is actually an appropriate look for that character. So, look, I'd actually like to go back to eventually in some capacity. I'm not demanding it. I love the direction this new Batman's going with Robert Pattinson, so I'm not stressing as a Batman fan, to say the least. The next thing I think is a discussion more people need to have about superheroes, not in an annoying way, not in an annoying fan way. Just like, again, I asked, like, who is this for? All right, then what are you going to show them when you make this movie or adaptation? What are you going to show them that makes it for them? And I think the big point of discussion with Batman is obviously the no killing thing, right? I am, as a nerd, my Batman would not kill in the version I have in my head, right? Because at the end of the day, we all just have these versions of characters in our heads too, these stories in our heads that are separate from everything else. I am also, however, a defender of Batman versus Superman, especially the extended edition.
Okay.
And Batman kills in that.
Yeah.
But,
or vaguely kills, I guess.
It's a little messy when you talk to the people that made it, but the context of the film, he does commit murder. I believe he stabs a man in the heart. And
runs someone over.
He runs multiple people over. It is a psychotic film.
Whenever I'll let you carry on, but whenever I hear stuff like that, I think about my mum really loves Adam West Batman.
No,
good adaptation.
And when she heard about Batman v Superman, she was like, "Oh, they shouldn't hang out. They're very different. They shouldn't even be in the same world." And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of been a thing for a while, actually."
Yeah.
But I always think about, she thought that, for instance, Batman Begins was too dark a Batman for her. She's very, very much about like the kid friendly kind.
Yeah.
And I just always think about that when I hear stuff like, oh yeah, he did run over a guy and he did stab a guy in the heart
explicitly.
It makes it funny, even though this is a very interesting topic that I've just derailed, but carry on.
No, it's fine. I mean, I like that movie, and I do believe it has more conviction to its own ideas than I think a lot of people maybe give it credit for. It is also just very funny that this exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, why I'm cool with that there, and even though I love Batman Returns, especially, I kind of wish Batman didn't kill there either. This movie BVS, it is clearly wrong that he's doing it. This is a Batman that's been so broken by the Snyderverse, and I'm not even using that to make a joke about that trilogy, whatever. Like, it's a dude who's like the lowest low, but he's not given up the one thing that's given his life drive and purpose. So he's just exerting it back at the world that broke him initially. Like, to me, that, okay, I wouldn't tell that story personally, but I'm open to someone having done so. I think it is a truthful adaptation of the character. It is just not my interpretation.
Yeah. Very different interpretation. Yeah. This Batman drinks, wakes up.
Batman always, even the animated series, that dude is just knocking him back. No, he doesn't on camera. They don't animate it, but you just know that dude's knocking him back.
Yeah, constantly. It's like Batman has ginger ale. That's his like thing. He's like, he just puts ginger ale so he doesn't have to like actually drink.
No,
that's a comics thing.
That dude's an alcoholic. That dude's a raging alcoholic.
That Batman, sure, yeah.
But yeah, so it's complicated. Is ultimately my answer, but I think fans know it when they see it, and I think sometimes they get really excited that a costume is very accurate. Yeah, and then sometimes don't.
Wolverine.
Yeah, like
even though that Wolverine should be sleeveless, Wolverine doesn't have sleeves.
Yes, okay, but isn't Hugh Jackman like very susceptible to skin cancer or something? So
that might have been like one of the reasons. So
Let's go easy on one of our greatest living movie stars.
Yeah,
that also reminds me of, like, there was a point for me we're seeing like, you know, accurate costumes and stuff like that was like a real big deal. It was also maybe symbolic of how serious, not seriously, but like how much like they were paying attention to the source material at all,
Hmm.
because you know there's a whole era where they weren't even trying, you know, to
Yeah, you got the
Mhm.
X-Men
yeah.
costumes. Yeah.
And I think we're past that point a bit now. Not that the costumes have become the, you know, great across the board or anything, but in general, the idea of like visually seeing a character come up on screen and that being enough, that is, you know, part of the, you know, the fatigue, I guess, of the superhero movies. Is like we have seen a lot of characters adapted now, and a lot of stuff like we never thought we'd ever see. And for me, at least, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not like getting bowled over by, you know, seeing this stuff anymore. Now you actually have to do something.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just like turn up and then just stand around in that Wolverine suit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure I'll like it when I see
Hmm.
it, but like a minute later, I'll be like, okay, but what is actually happening in this movie? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have I don't want to take all
Uh,
the time from Gene,
yeah.
but I mean another big obvious one. If you know me, I have some thoughts on the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Same.
And I
We're
think
like the same. Yeah.
as much as I like Homecoming, even I still like that movie quite a bit.
Yep.
The one big note was, or I guess I had two big notes is still, and they get worse over time, is like he doesn't really suffer a lot of consequences for his actions.
No.
Like he went missing on a field trip that almost got his classmates killed, and
Yeah.
he gets the stern talking to at the end of that. Like I think you get me in that room for the rewrite, and I'm like, you got to kick him out. Like
Yeah.
no school would go fucking ballistic
Hmm.
after that, you know, and that he doesn't come from like a working class background anymore.
No.
They did try to make him Iron Man, and then I
Yep.
think by the end they realized that was a mistake, which should have
Yeah.
appeased me. But it was also like too little, too late, and I know you're just doing it because you heard the nerds like me being angry about it.
Hmm.
But like that's a series without any moral conviction. They're not. They kind of have the basic aesthetic touchstones of who Spider-Man and Peter Parker are. They're
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
there's Aunt May. There's a reference to Uncle Ben one time.
Yeah.
There's he's
Few
quipping. You guys like
references.
that, you know? And it's like, I don't know what he wants in any of those sequels. I know what he
Yeah.
wants in his first scene in Civil War. I think
Hmm.
that Tom Holland gives a very good monologue that helps me understand the mindset of
Yeah.
that character.
Yep.
And then in
Yeah.
Homecoming, he wants to be an Avenger after
Yeah.
a bad movie
Uh-huh.
experience. Then the rest of the time, he's just an Avenger. So
Yeah.
I don't. I still don't know who that Spider-Man is. He's in like
Mm.
7 movies, and I don't know what his deal is. So I would say
Yeah.
that's a bad adaptation.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go like full on like bad, but yeah, it's not faithful. Not faithful in the ways that matter to the comics. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
think those movies maybe, well, not the third one because it didn't really have, no, it categorically did not have any original villains, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those first two I think did a better job of adapting villains for a movie setting. Obviously, everyone loves Michael Keaton as Vulture, but the idea of him actually being like a kind of like an economic like scavenger, you
Mhm.
know, it's like, and making that like
Oh
part
yeah,
of,
yeah.
you know, beyond just like he wants to rob a bank and he's got this flying harness or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Mysterio, the first comic he's in, he poses as a superhero.
Hmm.
And then so, okay, well, what does that look like on a grander scale, you know, at this
Yeah.
point in the movies? You know, so I think they probably did, though I was like more satisfied with those than I was necessarily like everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even like me, a Far From Home hater, like in theory, I do
Yeah.
like that version of Mysterio. Does not
Yeah.
Mhm.
need to be about trying to forsake the name of Tony Stark. I think that's
Yeah.
such a strange thing to
That
do
was
twice.
weird. Yeah. They did
Yeah.
Um,
it twice too.
but you get someone like Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think they got to let him get wackier. Like when he starts
Hmm.
screaming and stuff, it's like, okay, there it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, like the whole Mysterio thing. I remember some people criticizing it for like, oh well, you know he's gonna be a bad guy. It's like, yeah, it's Mysterio. That's his whole thing. You know,
Yeah.
like the illusion thing. That's his
Yeah.
deal. I'm fine with that. That's not the problem. Like I got a
Mhm.
laundry list over there of problems, but that's fine. That's yeah,
Hmm.
I do think that could have worked in a better movie, frankly.
And then you get No Way Home.
and you get No Way Home. And
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
really a bad adaptation because I don't even know what that's adapting.
Oh, I know exactly what
Yeah.
it's adapting, and I'm surprised more people aren't
Is it
talking about it.
adapting the Spider-Verse movie?
Yes, that's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah.
Now,
it also
not literally on a case like, or not on a 1-to-1 like ratio basis, but they did that movie because of that other movie. That's
yeah.
the only reason that's that movie.
I want to say I think it also kind of adapts One More Day too in a way.
In a way,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
You
it
know what?
does.
Continuity reset. Yeah.
It's an improvement on One More Day. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Barely.
And then I guess it's the origin too, because he was like, well, this whole trilogy was his origin. Did you see that? Oh, like John Watts or someone was like, well, I think the trilogy is like the origin of Spider-Man. Like he's like backtracking it. It's like so it took him 3 movies to become that
Wow.
accurate. Yeah. So you're just seeing stuff.
The untold story.
Mm-hmm.
I know. It's like I'm looking over at the Amazing Spider-Man duology, and I'm like, maybe I treated you too harshly. Which is no, those are bad movies. I'm making a joke. Those are terrible movies too.
Yeah.
But they're of the same quality to me. So
Yeah.
I lose either way.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to hear like me and Diego and a series of other people talk about the Amazing Spider-Man 2, you guys did a great episode of like mashing together a bunch of conversations in a way befitting of a movie that was mashing together a bunch of different stories. And
I don't know how I forgot about. Thank you for bringing that up, but that is one of the most proud episodes of a podcast I've ever done. So what Jack's referring to is, I wanted the podcast to feel like watching The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because that movie's clearly cobbled together from different movie edits and like ideas that people had in the production offices or whatever. Because I was doing a retrospective and Matt couldn't do it, so like, let me get 3 separate guests instead of booking them all at the same time. I'm gonna do 3 separate podcast recordings and then individual, like, ask them the same questions so it's not too much to lose track of, and then just intercut them into the same episode and take out other chunks of it. So like, thankfully I don't think you'll lose any discussion threads or anything like that during it, but that was very fun.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. And the I guess the director's cut of our conversation is on our Patreon, on the Spider-Man Show Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you can go to hear me do like a 10-minute monologue on how they fucked up Gwen Stacy's death and everything Gwen Stacy, really.
She's like, it's like not your fault that I'm gonna die in like 2 more scenes.
Yeah. I wonder how much of that
dead.
What's that?
Has any movie character ever been that dead? Like from the moment they walk on screen.
Yeah.
They're...
Do you remember from like The Simpsons where it's like McBain and then like just his partner retired and he's like, I'm gonna go on the ship. It's called Live Forever. He's exactly just gonna retire. Like it's like that. Yeah,
that's pretty much it. She has her graduation speech, which outside of the context of setting up the themes of the movie makes her sound like an insane person, because it's like, why is this like 18-year-old like talking so much about how time is running out? A lot of what we were just talking about with the Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man movies and the Home movies, I guess.
MCU Spider-Man,
that make it even more clear to me that the Raimi movies did such a good job of adapting the comics. At the time, like when they came out, that was like a sticking point, was that isn't really Dr. Octopus, that isn't what Green Goblin looks like. Spider-Man's webs don't work like that. There's lots of things which are technically like inaccurate, but I think none of them are the important things, because it really captures like the mood of those comics, of like specifically like the Silver Age stuff. And then you can have something like that first movie kind of ends with a adaptation of the death of Gwen Stacy, but they have, I guess, like the wisdom to know that it doesn't really make sense to just kill off the hero's love interest at the end of your movie. Because what are you actually saying? Like, what is the point of that? Because in those comics, the Death of Gwen Stacy is still probably my favorite comic ever. And the most heartbreaking thing about it, and okay, I'm slightly redoing my monologue
Yeah,
that I
Do it, do it,
mentioned
do it.
before,
yeah.
but like the you're watching a hero in a story where love interests do not die, because that wasn't really a thing at that point in comics. You are watching him find Gwen Stacy and expect her to be fine, because that's how these things go. And
Hmm.
as a character in that story, in a metatextual sort of way, he is realizing, oh wait, no, life isn't working like that anymore. This comic
Yeah.
is not working like that, and it's a subversion of how comics were back then. And then that has an impact on the comics for a while. Not just the tragic part, but like psychologically, him having to deal with the fact that this very traumatic thing has happened, and he literally can't talk to anyone about it.
Hmm.
Um, all those comics are just excellent, and the idea of just like going like, yeah, let's just introduce a Green Goblin and then
Hmm.
have him kill Gwen Stacy in like the last 10 minutes of our movie.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
like, what's
yeah.
the point? You know what you might as well have done? You might as well have made it a more kid friendly, a bit more of a straightforward, Willem Dafoe, like, who are you gonna save? And it's like, as hokey as that might be, I think it was a better choice.
Yeah, I would say so. Also, too, like for Amazing Spider-Man 2, they take away the like important one of the details, I think, also for the night Gwen Stacy died, like did when he shot the web to like try to save her, did he like accidentally like snap the neck, like snap
Mhm.
her neck, or did it like the fall she was already like, passed away, like was his fault, which I think like also too they to be like clear, it's like yeah, he messed up because it's like he did it in a way that caused like whiplash. Amazing Spider-Man 2, like he like saves her, but then it's like her like neck hits this like rock or something. Yeah. So it's like you don't get like any of that like, Spider-Man like conflict too, I would say. Yeah.
They take a lot of decisions away from him
Yeah.
in those movies, that which has not been remedied in the live action movies since then,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there, I mean, unless I'm mistaken, there is like a sense of ambiguity in like how Gwen Stacy died. We know her neck snapped, but like
Yeah.
the exact events,
Mhm.
apart from her neck being snapped, have been up for debate for a while, I would
Yeah.
argue.
Yeah, there's the opinion is expressed that she died before she would have, hit the water anyway,
Mm.
because of
Mhm.
shock or something.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, they make an attempt to. You're given reasons to think it could have been either.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
to the
I mean,
point you made, Jack, about like just the world's not working like it did when he was
mhm.
younger
Yeah.
anymore. When the
Stan Lee's
comic
out
is
as a
operating
writer.
differently now, and I think that's like not
Mm.
having the exact answer to that, just having to live with the fact that someone died and directly or indirectly he is responsible for because he is Spider-Man.
Yeah,
That's enough of a conflict. Like that
yeah.
is
Hmm.
a
If he
great
wasn't
conflict.
Spider-Man, it wouldn't have happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It is almost like, you put it that way, it's like the reverse of the Uncle Ben thing of like,
Hmm.
if he was acting like Spider-Man, he would be alive.
Mhm.
Which is why those are, two like formative events for the character.
Canon
Um,
events.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're the OG canon events. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm not going to repeat here, but like there's a joke about canon events in a recent Waffle Press
Oh,
uh,
Oh, is it?
episode
Oh,
that I
yeah.
won't I won't repeat, but it's like the hardest I've laughed in a really long time.
oh, thank
Uh,
you. It,
Oh,
I
he's at the
believe
Spider-Verse, yeah.
it has to do with either a familiar pair of towers in New York City,
Oh no.
or
Yeah, I kind of guessed this.
or the more, how do I put this, conservative groups on the internet.
Hmm.
And
oh right, yeah, yeah,
Matt makes a comment about how, like, like red pilled started with the Matrix, and in the Matrix it's like a good thing. In the real world, if someone says they're red pilled, you like run away as fast as you can. And Matt's
Yeah.
fear is that there's going to be a group called like the Canonites or something like that, and they're going to be like, this smash shooting spree is a canon event or something, and they're trying to enforce
yeah.
the canon events of the,
Hmm.
like, some truly psychotic
Hmm.
unhinged
Mhm.
shit will happen in the future because of that. I don't know if I agree with that, but yeah, thank you for
Well,
that.
Speaking of unhinged shit,
Mhm.
have either of you guys seen The Boys?
Yes.
I really enjoy The Boys. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
which
that show. Yeah,
I have not read the graphic novel, but from
and don't need
everything
Oh
I've
to.
heard
boy.
about it, it sounds like it's one of those things where it's okay, you don't need to read this comic.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
show is doing a better job
Yeah.
of
Oh,
of
it is.
the story.
It's so much better. I was really not looking forward to that. I wasn't going to watch the show, and then I heard
Hmm.
season two got really great, and
Yeah.
I kind of struggled with season one. And then towards the end, I'm like, oh, there's like they have thoughts about this stuff. It's not just like, isn't
Yeah.
it so shocking that superheroes are like, well, they're assaulting people, and there's
Mm.
like just crass jokes, and they're so bloody and violent.
Yeah.
They really take to heart the very American imagery of superheroes
Hmm.
and
Mhm.
why that's probably a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is a very surprisingly left leaning show for a show
Yeah.
that's produced by Amazon Studios.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's left leaning in that it also is critical of like a liberal mentality as well, if you know
Oh
what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's just a good satire, but then it does have its like, yeah, you are gonna see like the grossest, most violent use of superpowers, and that's the least interesting parts of the show, but it's there for the people who want it.
Yep.
yeah.
And then they have like, and I'm sure that stuff is there in the comics as well. But it
Yeah.
sounds like there wasn't that much else there, whereas like the show has like a lot more to say. So that's like a definite recommend for me, especially for anyone out there who's like has held off because they think it's just going to be like this, really edge lordy sort of dark take on superheroes. Like
Yeah.
it's got
It's like,
a bit more going on.
yeah, Gareth Ennis was proto Mark Miller.
Yeah, the Garth Ennis is a strange dude. I think
Yeah,
he's more
same.
talented than Mark
Yeah, he's
Millar, but
definitely more
yeah,
talented.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely he's how you get Mark Millar.
Yeah.
And the show is just not that, to the point where I think, Jack, you're mentioning like the violence is there for people that kind of want that, and they think
Hmm.
like it's more comedic, and it is very funny, but I think some people do miss the elements of satire. Like if Paul Verhoeven directed this as a movie, it'd be like one of the greatest movies ever made. But I think like people were asking the showrunner when during the press run for season three when it was released a year ago or however long it was, thoughts about Marvel, because that's what people do, because they're not very talented journalists.
Hmm.
And he was like, I don't like it. He doesn't like it. And it's like, yeah, why would someone who makes The Boys like that shit? You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
I like it more than he does. Like, there's no way. Like, it's, or at least the show and the entire team. I'm not just going to credit him solely, because there's a great group of writers and people on that show. They understand the intersection of capitalism and fascism, and what capitalism
Mhm.
is selling right now in the real world is superhero shit. I mean,
Yeah.
how many fucking unfortunate photoshops do you see of Donald Trump's head on like Homelander or
Yeah.
something,
Right.
and it's like those people, like, satire can only go so far. It doesn't. I don't think it's enough of a tool to actually combat anything, but I do think it's important to comment on anyways. So
Yeah.
the Boys is really good, is what I'm saying, and I'm as shocked as you are that I say that now.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Speaking of superhero TV shows, another one that I really enjoyed was Invincible,
The cartoon, yeah.
which I didn't finish reading the comic, but I read pretty much up into where the show got to in its first season. And while it's been some distance, I thought they did a really good job of adapting it. And I think that part, like Spider Verse, it really made me think, like, maybe we should be doing this animated more because
Yeah.
I I just feel like it eliminates so many problems that come with this kind of thing. Even if it's just the case of like just like basic production stuff and like reshoots and like I
Hmm.
know actually like there's like a real like there was a worry I had coming into this episode today that I would end up talking about how much I dislike Secret Invasion for
Oh
like the
yeah.
entire time.
It was a
Um
bad time. I stopped.
yeah,
Can't
it
believe
was a
you
bad
finished
time.
it.
It continued being a bad time, and then it ended as a bad time.
I was gonna say
Um, but
$200 million to
and
make that.
that's a show which you hear about the behind the scenes, and like I think like the showrunner switched out like shortly before production started, there were reshoots, but Samuel L. Jackson is Samuel L. Jackson, so he wasn't like available as much as they probably needed him to be. I don't know if all these things can be like alleviated by the animated angle, but it
Hmm.
just feels like there's like maybe just like a bit more freedom to it,
Yeah.
even to the action, and being able to like be a bit more imaginative with the choreography when it's in this like purely like fantastical place.
Hmm.
No, that's a good mention. And I haven't seen Secret Invasion. I've just seen
Yeah, you
people's
don't need to.
reactions. Yeah, I don't watch any of the shows. Apologies to Loki and Miss Marvel. Those are the ones I
Hmm.
hear consistently are the better ones, but
Yeah.
I don't do
Mm.
that anymore. Uh I think yeah, animation probably the better way to go. It should be noted that this report came out about Across the Spider-Verse,
Yeah.
and the working
Mhm.
production conditions of that were a little rough, and it's
Hmm.
Yeah.
because maybe a certain producer who's not really directing these, but likes to pretend they are, is very hands-on with the writing and the constantly changing and reworking of scenes up until like release, basically. And
Mhm.
look, the movie's great, but
Yeah.
any movie you're going to be doing that on is going to be brutal to work on, and it's
Yeah.
not fair.
Mhm.
The whole animation thing, it can be such a beautiful process because everyone can collaborate on the story together, and then you
Mhm.
kind of develop the images to that story, right? Like ideally you do that for every movie. Live action is
Hmm.
obviously radically different, but you want the images to tell your
Mhm.
story. Animation is sort of the purest form of this visual storytelling to me. And if you have the patience and the time and the workflow where people aren't going to be having to leave their job for their own sanity, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
bet this is like kind of a way of the future, frankly, for at
Yeah.
least these
Yeah.
stories.
Sadly.
I don't
Also,
know if
too.
that's a sad thing. Like I think animation and superheroes go really hand in hand. I mean, there's stuff I do want to see in live action, but I struggle to think of more recent stuff that couldn't benefit from being animation,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It starts to feel like just like a common thread of like we started this episode talking about Justice League Unlimited and Earth's
Hmm.
Mightiest Heroes. It's not always the case, because I know that like as much as like DC had like a really good run with its animated universe and everything,
Yeah.
like it's I don't hear many good things like nowadays. It has the same pressures of like it also being about like IP management, you know
Hmm.
Hmm.
and all these things being like offshoots of a brand, and like how can we like make money out of the most amount of markets, and
Yeah.
it doesn't so much become about like the actual storytelling as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, too, like the adaptions, like I was just thinking, like going back to Secret Invasion, because it's like I would like to see some of these as movies, but like I think like the pipeline aspect of it, where it's like we need to pump these out, so it's like Phase 5 comes out in this year, and then we could get these movies in Phase 6. Like really kind of destroys some of the adaptions too, because it's like Secret Invasion or like I bet like Secret Wars, it's gonna be like really surface level like adaptions, like
Mhm.
stuff like the Illuminati. They're not going to be like, oh, okay, is it ethical what they're doing? It's going to be like one scene and then they're out. Or like Secret Invasion, like they weren't adapting like I don't know, like interesting aspects of it. And the comic is kind of rough. It's not my favorite comic, but like there's nothing
Uh-huh.
in the series that's like well, what how long was this like person like infiltrating this or whatever. It's just like they make all the scrolls like just radicalized, and then it's like also yeah, it's just weird too because then the scrolls were like they were pretty, they were just refugees, and it's just weird. Yeah, it's just weird.
Secret Invasion is particularly weird because I am on the same page with the comic. I don't think the Secret Invasion event comic is very good. I
Yeah.
think the its tie-ins with other comics was where it was interesting.
Yeah.
I think I still have it somewhere, like a little promo of the Secret Invasion of like, I think the tagline was like, "Who can you trust?"
Yep.
And
Hmm.
you'd see all this imagery of like it'll be like a crowd of superheroes and all of them are like scrolls, and
Yeah.
like the idea of there was a comic where Elektra gets killed in a fight and then she
Hmm.
turns into a scroll and everyone's
Yeah.
like, wait, what? She was a
Yeah.
scroll for an indeterminate amount of time? What does that mean?
Hmm.
Even Earth's Mightiest Heroes
Yeah.
brought up some interesting questions with it because they have a Skrull who poses as Captain America and
Hmm.
speaks to the American people. So when the situation is dealt with, Captain America has to now deal with the fact that his face was used as the face of an invasion.
Yep.
There are so many
It's
interesting
interesting.
questions to ask, and none of them come up in the show. In fact,
No.
I think they're pretty vague about it in the show, but I'm pretty sure everything that happens in the Disney Plus Secret Invasion show is all contained. Anyone who was a Skrull became a Skrull within the show.
Yeah.
There's
Or
no like, there's just no intrigue to it. It's just
yeah.
like there's no paranoia,
No.
which is
Yeah.
insane because you
Yeah.
think on a basic level, yeah, you're doing Invasion of the Body Snatchers with
Hmm.
superheroes,
Yeah. And then there are
and
no
then
superheroes.
yeah, and you don't have the superheroes, and you don't have
Yeah. You had War
the
Machine, I
paranoia.
guess. Yeah. Or they're just like vague. They're like, well, how long was Rhodey a Skrull? And he's like, well, I think like Endgame. You like around then or something. He says like something like that.
Mhm.
The
There,
direct
there's
the
there's a
director
lot
of the
of like,
show. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like, what
whatever's
do you
to
mean you
it.
don't know?
Yeah, he wrote
Yeah.
the show, bro. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
There's also a very climactic speech given by
President?
Nick
Oh.
Fury, where he explains a bunch of his actions in a way which is deeply unsatisfying, and
Hmm.
then afterwards you find out that that wasn't Nick Fury making that speech anyway.
Oh no.
So not only was it disappointing, but it wasn't him being disappointing.
Yeah.
um,
How do they fumble like
They
a
keep
show
doing
that
that
bad?
with the scrolls. They keep dropping the ball. Like, I really like them in Captain Marvel. That movie
Yep.
still, I think, is really solid. I was caught
Yeah.
completely off guard by just how
Yeah.
solid it was. And then, like, the next time you see the scrolls, it's Far From Home. Sorry to shit on that movie
Yeah.
some more, but it's like, oh,
Yep.
like Nick Fury,
that's the
like,
worst part of that movie, in my
it's
opinion.
Yeah. That's
you got a
clearly
good
also like a
argument.
reshoot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
Mm.
oh well, it was actually not Nick Fury, so he shouldn't. Like, nothing changes if Nick Fury wasn't in that movie because it was a
Mhm.
Mhm.
scroll. So it's like, so what are we been doing here then? What is that?
Yeah.
You know? And then they make refugees into terrorists, and it's like, those are some
Yeah.
rough optics politically.
Yeah, it
Jesus
really
Right.
Christ!
is. Yeah,
Oh
that
my
was like
God!
that was
Like,
crazy. I
Yeah.
felt like I was watching like a friggin' like Daily Wire movie or something. Something like someone like Ben Shapiro wrote like Secret Invasion.
yeah. Well, here for the
That's why
adaptation conversation, really quick, I would say Captain Marvel.
yeah.
Like, I mean, I think
Oh yeah.
people would disagree with me. I think that's a good adaptation because, like, what it ends up
Mhm.
adapting from the scrolls, at least too. It's like, I think it made it less like fear mongery significantly. You know, like
Hmm.
Yeah.
it gives them a voice, a perspective that they just don't have in the comics
Yeah.
because they're space monsters in the comics. You
They're
know, and
space
like, hey,
monsters.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, if you're gonna pull from anything, it's pretty good. But you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also better optics, I think, for the Kree Skull War. Because it's like the Kree are kind of like these humanoid looking, warriors, and then like the Skrulls are just like,
mhm.
goblin looking creatures. So yeah,
Yeah,
it elevates
it's
it.
yeah, it does, and that's what I really liked about it. And it,
And
yeah,
they're close. They use the Kree in a appropriate way, like as big thing with the Kree of being like all about like the most like utilitarian, like the ends justify the means. We're all about
Yeah.
evolving and becoming the most perfect race and everything, and tying that in with like the themes of like not showing emotion and emotion being like a bad thing, and
Mhm.
making it a thematic thing with Carol Danvers as a woman, being wanting to express emotion and that not being a weakness, and just everything with the showdown with Jude Law
oh
at the
yeah, that's
end.
great.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
like
yeah, and I don't
fight
think it's
me.
like like a perfect movie or anything, but like
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
took like, and it's quite like a hard thing to take the Captain Marvel stuff because it's not just Carol Danvers, but it's like Marvel, and it's like the Kree, and it's the
Mhm.
Skrulls, and it's the prospect of doing like the Marvels as a sequel where
Yeah.
you're like now making it like you actually bringing in Monica Rambeau, who got treated like pretty bad in the comics as being like a
Yeah.
really interesting Captain Marvel, who then got shoved to the sidelines for decades, and then Miss Marvel as well. Even some of the worst MCU movies have like that it hasn't always been good, but they've always like you can see that there's thought behind the way they're trying to adapt stuff, if you know what
Hmm.
I mean.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's kind of obvious, or it's like they're playing more for the Redditors, a bit more
Yeah.
than I'd like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we want to surprise people, we want to like do things in a way you're not expecting. So it's a mixed bag, but like there's a lot of them where I kind of see where you're going for. Actually, a couple of nights ago, for the first time, I saw New Mutants,
Oh.
Oh.
which um
Uh-huh.
I don't know, like I only ever heard bad things about it. I was like slightly positive on it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
Okay.
if I'm like the only one.
I think you are, but
Um,
that's okay.
Yeah. I
but
appreciated it didn't like tie in into anything. It's just exist.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and but even I think even if you don't like the film, like you can also like kind of see what it's going for,
Yeah.
Mhm.
on a basic level of like they've gone over it quite a lot now, but like going over like the metaphor of like growing up and becoming a mutant and being ostracized,
Hmm.
and like doing that in that setting of like a mental institution is just like I was like, oh, I can see how this was a great pitch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even like Love and Thunder, which was not a movie I loved, I
Uh,
was like, I could see how this was a good pitch.
yeah.
I could see how you could be like, actually, we can combine these different things and it kind of works for these
Mhm.
reasons. The movie was not good, but
Yeah.
like maybe there was some like thought behind like how to adapt these things in a different way.
Yeah.
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 I completely agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Not so much the quality of New Mutants, maybe, but
Mhm.
I mean, when you mentioned Love and Thunder, I think I'm right there with you. I don't hate that movie. It is terrible. It
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
terrible. Like I'm not defending it. I'm not. There's no like insightful like, oh, it's actually like some people try to reclaim Freddy got fingered, which
Oh,
I can buy
okay.
into that. But
Uh-huh.
there's
Right.
like an interesting artist at the center of it. Thor: Love and Thunder's like, we need to fucking just finish this movie, just release it.
Yeah.
Like it's not finished basically, but
Yeah.
there's every once in a while there's like a conversation between characters, an idea that's brought up, and I'm like, yeah, I like this. I love Thor. Thor's like a top 5
Mhm.
Marvel character for me at this point. And
Yeah.
you could just feel like all this interesting stuff about like the gods and like who they're
Mhm.
placing all this and like power as like a thing that these people have that no one else does, and
Yeah.
how do you like protect people? You got to give it back. You got to share
Yeah.
it. It's like that through line right there is a good
Mhm.
idea. And then New
Mhm.
Mutants for me, it's
Uh-huh.
there are moments of ideas in there, and it's like I kind of
Mhm.
wanted to just see someone do Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors
Demon
with
with the demon
superheroes.
bear. With the
Yeah,
demon bear.
yeah, fucked up Demon Bear.
Yeah.
The Demon Bear is the coolest shit ever.
I
It's a
think
It
so
really,
demon
it
too.
really,
bear.
it really was not a good third act, but the third act had a fucking demon bear.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It was kind of rad.
Look,
Yeah.
I am pro Demon Bear. I remember when they announced that movie, and I was like, okay, let's see. And then they started saying, "Oh, Demon Bear is the villain." I was like, hold the fucking fort. We're going here, people. And then you watch
Hmm.
the movie, and it's like, I guess I
Yeah.
don't know. It's not the worst X-Men movie, which is like
No, yeah, it's
a crazy
definitely
bar. But
yeah.
On that note, I think we should talk a little bit about the X-Men movies in general,
Hmm.
Mhm.
because not like the start of like the wave of superhero movies quite, because you got Blade in there a bit before,
Hmm.
um, but that first X-Men movie I think really holds up. I
Okay.
think as much as it doesn't do the costumes, and
Yeah.
there's a certain level of minor embarrassment over the source material,
Hmm.
I think like it really drives home those central themes,
Yeah.
and it really nailed the basic Magneto Professor X conflict
Hmm.
in a way that was so good that they proceeded to do that exact same story
Yeah.
like 15 times in a row.
Hmm.
While I've only kind of dipped my toes into X-Men comics here and there, the impression I get is that this is real like tip of the iceberg of X-Men comics, which all kinds of things,
Yeah.
and much further beyond like the civil rights allegory that
Hmm.
maybe like Stanley was going for in the original run, because those weren't even the comics that made X-Men a household name. It was
Yeah.
it was Chris Claremont, right? And I've been finding out more about the X-Men comics through the podcast Cerebro. I don't know if you guys know about that.
Mm-mm.
It's really good. They got a lot of big names on it, but they definitely take like the angle of like going deep into the history and also like the social issues that it covers and how like queer it is, like
Mhm.
on a really deep level beyond the the kind of metaphor stuff that comes up in like maybe like X-Men 2 or something like that.
Hmm.
But just like, these were like a lot of the time there were fights in editorial with Chris Claremont, who would be pushing to be really explicit about certain
Oh yeah,
things.
like
And
Mystique and Destiny.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot more to it than I ever expected, because like a lot of the the stuff I know about X-Men, I know a lot of the basic like stories and arcs from the 90s cartoon.
Hmm.
And then it's the movies, which are like, mostly like on the same level, even though there's been like a dozen of them now. And I think like, I don't know about you guys, but I don't get the feeling like they're really like mining the material at all or really
Yeah.
engaging with it beyond the the very surface level. What are the three things we know about this character? He's
Yeah.
gonna do those three things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love that first X-Men movie. I absolutely give it credit for being a solid movie. I think especially after news came out about a certain filmmaker,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
rejected them because I was like, no, 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 MCU is my thing now. And this was like 2015, mind you. So just
Mhm.
very different Diego at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, 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 these are embracing the comic booky goodness I like, like I'm over the being embarrassed about liking these things. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, everyone shut up about these things. So, growth. But X2, I think, unfortunately, is a really good movie. It's
Yeah.
a
In
really
spite of
good like
in spite of the
science fiction
filmmaker.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
He
don't
was.
feel bad saying that, because if you look at that dude's filmography, it's very clear that he doesn't really have a style, which is fine.
No.
But you could like
Mhm.
at a certain point, like the team clearly took over and they were like unanimously the director, because
Yeah.
he's
Because
also known for walking off sets and not
yeah.
being there.
Also,
So
too, yeah, there was
yeah.
like all reports where it's like how Halle Berry told him off, or like he was just asleep on set or something.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't want to give that guy any
yeah,
more airtime, frankly, but I'm
yep,
just using that to say like that is a pretty good movie, X2. And I
yeah.
want
I
to
would.
just give it credit
Mhm.
right now because I think it does touch the most upon like the idea of like these outsiders, and it's like the government is the opposition in that movie. It
Mhm.
is straight
Yeah.
up the United States government.
Mhm.
Colonel William Stryker in this, which is like I get why they did that, and it does work. You got Brian Cox, you fucking
Right.
yeah, you use
Yeah.
him to his fullest potential.
Hmm.
Um, I would have liked to have seen the religious angle approach
Yeah.
a little more, but
Mhm.
for the time, especially post 9/11, that's a pretty radical blockbuster wise
Yeah.
movie, anyways. Like that's pretty in your face about like, hey, like the government will take advantage of a terror attack to, to
Yeah. Do what they
oppress
want.
its own citizens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that is explicitly the text of the franchise, especially that one movie. And I think it's probably the closest we get to something exploring those angles from the X-Men outside of the comics, until like even Logan.
Hmm.
Logan's more outspoken. Like a bunch of immigrant children racing for the border kill a guy named Donald,
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
still enjoy a lot of the X-Men movies as well. I just think like yeah, just some stuff gets like repetitive. And then yeah, I'm also like secretly terrified of like the MCU X-Men too.
Oh God, this is
Yeah.
I'm like
I mean,
secretly like that's
that's
like
that's
what's
like
the
a
thing?
yeah. I mean, I think you're gonna bring up the same thing I'm going to, which is like I revisited First Class, and again, Matthew Vaughn, not my favorite fella right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I still like that movie. That's my favorite of his movies by a lot,
Yeah.
by a significant margin. And then Stardust. I like Stardust.
Yep.
Um, and First Class isn't perfect. Obviously, it's the Xavier and Magneto show.
Yeah.
Which they never shake off after that either. But it's very good when it focuses on
Hmm.
them. And then it sort of hit me that like this worked because it's like 20 years after World War II. Like
Yeah.
perfect setup for you get to see how Magneto's like righteous anger can be misconstrued and it can malform a person. Of the belief now that Magneto as a character has evolved beyond being an antagonist. If anything, he's
Yeah.
like a little more of an anti-hero. That's
Yep.
the world we live in now, where that is more
Mhm.
those beliefs are more acceptable. Sans killing innocents, which is, I
Yeah.
think, a cowardly trait of writers to be like, oh, they're right, but their methods are too far. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need that anymore. Sorry. World War II and Magneto being a survivor of Jewish internment camp in Nazi Germany, or in Poland, I believe, is so essential to that character's existence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you do, because for the next adaptation, for the next version of these characters, because that's not
Yeah.
he'll have to be like 120 years old.
Yeah.
I
You know,
think
by the
they've
time they
already
get around
had
to
to deal with that in the comics. I'm pretty
Oh.
sure at a certain point they de-aged him.
Yeah.
Using
I remember
sci-fi magic.
Yeah, like X-Men Evolution, like he just keeps going to like a de-aging machine is like one of the things.
Oh,
It's
right.
yeah, because it's like they
It's
did that
yeah,
Captain America one. Yeah.
it's a difficult thing. I also think in general, like the X-Men universe is so expansive that
Mhm.
even in the comics, I've never really been interested in, like, it's fun to see a team up with Wolverine and Spider-Man.
Mhm.
There's certain like ways they can interact that is fun, or like seeing an old World War II story where like Wolverine knows Captain America or something like that.
Yeah.
There is fun to be had, but in general, like there's so much to the X-Men universe, I don't really need it to be connected
Yeah,
to
they're
the
like
rest of the Marvel stuff.
mhm. They're like off on their own island pretty much, you know?
Yeah. Also, like it does. I mean, it's always difficult, like squaring the idea that like people have an issue with mutants,
Yep.
but everyone else they don't have that issue with,
Yeah,
and they can tell the difference.
yeah, that's my main thing for like the MCU, because it's like all the heroes, like I would say it's like even more so than that, because it's like I think of because it just came up in the Ninja Turtles movie, the Hulk scene where he's in the diner and like people are just like taking like selfies with him, and that's the Hulk. The
Mhm.
whole crux of the Hulk is he's like feared, or he's just like he's like this like entity that's like hunted by the government, and like all the heroes now are just like they're like celebrities, so it's like they're even more accepted, they're like revered, and like I don't know why the X-Men will just be like they're the ones that'll be like singled out, and like I
You've
don't think that.
you've activated something in my brain that I have to
Oh,
mention about the Hulk now.
yeah,
But
sure.
first, I will mention that the episode you're referring to, I think, Gene, is the Captain America cameo episode, right, from X-Men Evolution, with the Magneto
Yeah,
de-aging thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
de-aging, yeah.
there's this fucking great moment at the end of that episode where Magneto's basically got the X-Men like trapped, and then he lets them go because Logan was a soldier who freed him from the
Yep, the
concentration camp.
Mhm.
And he tells him, like, a small boy from Poland owes you that much. Like, when I saw that as a kid, that like blew my mind. I was like,
Mhm.
this is so good. It's
Mhm.
like it's given him separate layers apart from just being like a vengeful, a
Yep.
vengeful victim. Which is, again, it's like weird that that's even like a thing, but
Yeah.
times changing, yada yada yada. The other thing I had to mention now is that I think the Ang Lee Hulk is a great adaptation
Mhm.
of the Hulk character.
Yeah, I gotta
It's
say, I'm so shocked it took you this long to bring it up.
I know, I know.
Lethal.
I
He thinks
I
he
was
said
like,
it's secretly a masterpiece.
I don't think it's a secret. I think it just is. It is made
Yeah.
very differently. I
Mhm.
I had the pleasure of meeting and speaking to the original writer on that project, John Turnman,
Mhm.
after writing a piece for Discussing Film. Go check it out. Who has complicated feelings on the film as well. It's who's the first writer on the project. He was not the last writer on the project. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
But structurally, it's very similar. Especially talking to him, I saw what the spirit of the Hulk comics, like the big, vast desert landscapes with the military fighting him there, and initially there was going to be more military
Mhm.
sci-fi stuff there, or whatever. But like he told me that, I think he's fine with me sharing this, that like that's what he was writing the movie towards eventually. Like that's what
Yeah.
really was like exciting to him, like the Hulk versus the U.S. military in these vast land. Like that's the original like comic conflicts often, right? It's like these
Yep.
big landscapes, because you put Hulk in the city, it's just like rubble, 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 rubble. It gets
Yeah.
repetitive. It'd be weird if they kept doing that. But it's very truthful, like to the emotion of the character. I think like the rage and the fearfulness Bruce Banner has for himself,
Mhm.
the pain and the struggle of like being a monster. Like
Yep.
he's one of the few superheroes that's like actively a monster.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that it's a fascinating conversation that the Bruce Banner character has with himself and with the people around him, and it's I think it's a wonderful film. They obviously
Yeah.
retcon stuff. There's like Absorbing Man and Zats are one character now, and they're also his father who created the first gamma explosion, and the testing on Bruce Banner from a young age is what led him to being the Hulk, which I think is
destiny.
I think it's fine for this character because the whole film is also about, it's a generational trauma thing.
Yep.
It's like, oh, it's about trauma. Everything's about fucking trauma now. But that movie is fundamentally like addressing those topics. And Hulk isn't also like, it's not a Spider-Man narrative where it's like that spider could have bitten anybody. That's a working class narrative. This is Gene and I were talking about Oppenheimer earlier, which is like a crazy thing to mention alongside the Ang Lee Hulk. I recognize that. But that movie has a very narrow view of like the Trinity test that leads to the atomic bomb, and arguably the worst era of mankind, or at least one of the worst acts of mankind history, maybe the worst act in mankind's history. But that perspective, that limited view, is what kind of it helps you understand how these people got so wrapped up in creating something that you're like, oh yeah, they didn't stop to think about why it'd be bad for too long. That's brought up, but they didn't think about it too long because it's such an insular thing, The Hulk movie kind of has the same thing with like the father figures in there. It's all about fathers and sons and fathers and their daughters, and it's all Oedipal and shit. So that's a new angle on the Hulk, obviously, but the spirit of like what makes the Hulk character the Hulk is completely in that movie.
Yeah, I would say that too.
Yeah,
I would agree with you.
I think I wish I liked that movie as much as you do, but I definitely respect it. I even the retconning stuff with his father being like partially responsible or heavily responsible for what happened to him, both on like a psychological level and like a chemical level. I think that's really interesting. I think zeroing in on like the psychology, I think that's like a really interesting thing to do with an adaptation. Like everyone knows that the Hulk is an angry dude,
Yeah.
But then actually asking what that means, and why, and going into it on like the level you would in like a therapy session about the source of anger or something. And so I think that's like a really fascinating movie. And honestly, I would love another Hulk movie that was more back to basics.
Yeah.
But I think I know there's lots of reasons why they like can't or won't make like
legally
Hulk solo. But I think if they did, that the big push would be like, let's do the leader, let's do all these big like supervillains that we haven't had, or storylines that we haven't had the opportunity to do yet. But I still think the most interesting thing about the Hulk, and you go back to reading the first run on the Hulk by Stan Lee, like just him being like, Frankenstein's monster, like sort of an outcast who is thrown aside, and the interplay between Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and all these things which they like have completely erased from the character in the last few appearances, which goes down easy because Mark Ruffalo is like, even in the scenes I don't like he's charming. I like him as a screen presence, but like they've removed a lot of what makes the character interesting in order to, I guess, just not have to deal with like the difficulties of
or it happens off screen. Everything interesting for that character is just all off screen.
Yeah, that's still insane. I kind of like, I almost when I was like categorizing stuff for my notes for this, I was like, I was looking at the idea of like, oh, what's like a bad movie that's also like a bad adaptation? And when I thought about it, I was like, I think I'm gonna put Endgame in here.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think those guys would like probably be down with that, but I was like, what, like a barrel of worms to open,
Yeah.
Because that movie was about, it was almost about like everything apart from the story, because it was about the conclusion of a cinematic universe, like meta narrative, and fulfilling the expectations of fans. And we're going to do Infinity Gauntlet, but we're not going to do Infinity Gauntlet in the way that you can predict, so we're going to do it this way. And then when you get back down to it, you're like, oh, well, this isn't actually like that close to what like Thanos is, you know? And then you
No.
get stuff like the Hulk, you know, because he's one of many characters. Like, yeah, we don't have time to do this arc, so it happened in between movies.
Yeah. God, the most interesting thing too, he becomes Professor Hulk, and it's just, or it's like even like the Hulk doesn't want to come out. Like, man, that was interesting. They do like nothing with it. Everything in that movie is just like so like everything interesting happened off screen that the Russos like just don't want to like interact with. Like, oh, did the Red Skull and Captain America meet? Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, they did. And like, well, did anything happen? It's like, no, they just he just didn't really, remember him. Who Captain
Yeah,
America
it was just a bit awkward.
where it's like General Ross. Yeah, it's kind of where General Ross and like the Hulk are in the same scene together. I'm like, oh, did they like do anything? They're like, no, they just kind of stood there together.
Yeah,
God.
an interesting thing is Endgame was written by Marcus and McFeely, right?
Yeah.
And they were the writers on the Winter Soldier, which in a flip side, right? I remember at that point in time thinking to myself, are they going to play the Winter Soldier like a mystery? Like, who is the Winter Soldier? Like they did in the comics? Because you put that in a trailer or you put out a movie called The Winter Soldier, someone's going to just Google The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, it's Bucky.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's maybe a bit of a problem. And one of the things I love about Winter Soldier is that they treat the reveal of it being Bucky as a reveal because it is a reveal to Steve Rogers.
Yep.
And I love that original storyline by Ed Brubaker. I think is really good in the Captain America comics. I love that whole run that he had on Captain America. Even the weird time travel stuff.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
The moment of the who the hell is Bucky, I think that they managed to find a way to do that moment really well. And it helped that, it was coming like character first. They weren't like worrying about like, oh, everyone on the internet has already figured out what this is. So actually, he's got to take off his Bucky mask and it's someone else. They weren't like trying to outthink anyone. And a couple of movies later, they're doing the complete opposite thing where it's like all about outthinking the audience.
Yeah, and it's like hey, look, I'm not a fan of that creative team. I think the Winter Soldier totally holds up. It's like I'm sorry, I still think it's very good to the point where I'm like, who really directed this? Because there's something amiss here. There's decisions being made here that I am very much vibing with that I never again do. So
still my favorite MCU movie. Yeah.
Not quite there for me, but it is good, and it's them not overplaying the mystery factor and just like kind of doing it. And something I also really like, which is not in the original version, because Bucky is his sidekick in the original version. The movies, this goes back to the first Avenger. He's the kind of the big brother figure. He's the guy Steve Rogers looks up to.
It's his best friend.
So it's his best friend in the world. It's his non-biological brother, basically. And when he's the guy that he's got to go up against in the Winter Soldier and he's got to defeat him, he has to come to terms with like, do I have to kill this guy? I don't want to kill this guy. It's like it all hits. It all works. It's like that's the last line he had to the former life he had to leave behind. It'd be really stupid if they ended his arc by him going back there, because that would be a betrayal of everything they established, but whatever. And it's like
imagine
it's the conflict is so good because it's like the world's fucking crumbling around him. He's like, he saved the new world he's in. He's like, dude, I just need like a win. Like don't make me kill you, please. Like I can't do it. It's all so good. It's so good. It's completely character driven action spectacle. It's some good movie shit. Yeah. And I never got that again from them.
Despite being a more modern story, The Winter Soldier was like a pitch perfect thing to go to for the sequel. But on the other hand, I think there's plenty of like big storylines that are like definitive to characters that actually aren't necessarily like the right thing to adapt into a movie. Are there any like storylines like that where you're like, I don't even think this should be in a movie, regardless of how good the character or story is?
The Annihilation arc for like the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I think people really wanted that for the movies, and I think those are great movies, and I don't think they're very good adaptations, quote unquote, though. But like that's also fine because I think they're excellent James Gunn films.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely his own. You know, they're Tim Burton has his Batman, James Gunn has his Guardians of the Galaxy. Are they like the characters from the comics? Not really. But they all those movies make me cry a lot, so I don't care. But I think that one in particular, it's like it's got to pull from so much that it's just like what do you even start as a movie? Like you basically just take the title and you're gonna have to come up with something else.
Yeah.
You know?
I would say like two things for like, because it's like I feel like it's just like people just can't do it well, is like the death of Gwen Stacy, because it's like I was reading for Spectacular Spider-Man, they were never going to kill off Gwen, and I'm like, that's really interesting for me, because it's like, well, what if she lived? And then too, like you go into so much grief, and then like I don't know, there was a certain fan film that came out recently, and they tried to adapt all the griefs, and I'm like, oh, that's just bad. And then I also think I think the death of Jason Todd, I don't think you need to do, because it's like I don't know, yeah, not to go like bash the Snyderverse, but like I don't know, you kind of had that there, and then it just like didn't really like amount to anything, or like Joker's still around, and like he never killed,
Yeah,
So
the
yeah,
Joker still being around is what kind of fucks that up for sure.
yeah, it's like it does not make sense. So yeah. Also too, like, yeah, that storyline is like, reading it, it's kind of like a mean spirited, like had all these fans like vote by phone to like kill off beloved Robin.
It was a long time ago I learned about that story, and I'm still not really over it.
Yeah.
It's such a psychotic thing to happen.
It's like fans didn't like this character so much. It's like, now you're dead. That's kind of, I don't know, not to bash that Indiana Jones movie, but that's why I did not like the Mutt Williams death, where it's like, you don't like him? Dead. Like, even though they did it well. Like,
I get that one's a little different, though. That one has an actor with some legal disputes, I believe, allegedly.
Yeah,
so
allegedly, yeah.
That's
I'm not saying bring him back.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just think that one's a little different.
Yeah.
I think the movie's different. It had that person behaved well in the real world. But I mean, you're right. I completely agree. I don't like it, even with movies I don't care for. I don't like it when they change something because of fan reactions.
Yeah.
It'll always ring false. It feels like they have no conviction. You know what I mean? I mean, a separate thing entirely, but Star Wars, one of the most popular characters of all time now for that franchise is Ahsoka Tano. If you told someone that in 2008 when they saw that animated Clone Wars movie, they would try to stab you. You'd be like, you're crazy, get out of here, stab, like, and now look, she's got her own spin-off show. Is anyone gonna watch it? I don't know, that's a different can of worms, but up until this point she's got a lot of fans, and I'm one of them. So
an example for me of like a storyline, which I mean, we've had it like an attempt at an adaptation of it twice now, and I think it just fundamentally does not work in a singular movie format, is the Dark Phoenix saga. Which, X-Men 3 has like a hell of a lot of problems, and it's not all about Jean Grey's role in it, but also that's a storyline which was all about the serialized format, where it was like a long arc of her being manipulated and slowly transformed into something. And when you condense it into a short film, when you condense that whole narrative, it's like, okay, well, now it's just about like a woman who is very powerful and cannot control that power, which is now just a boring trope. And I think like, while like Dark Phoenix maybe did like a better job than X-Men 3, like it is still like it just didn't. I just don't think it fits as like a standalone like movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm about to drop a hot take. Sorry, but I think it could work.
Ooh.
I think the biggest problem is that they're just not centering those X-Men movies on Jean Grey enough. So when they do it, it's like now she has the spotlight where she dies because she's too powerful. I don't know. It's a mistake to do that. It's like, no, we're centering the woman this time in the story where she dies, and also Mystique dies in the movie. It's like it's a controversial, like not super controversial, but
the worst thing about that is that I completely forgot that happened until you just said.
I did too until you brought it up. And it's like, here's a complicated story about emotional, complicated women. And I encourage the idea of that. And it's like, let's explore that. But you gotta do it more than just like she's too powerful, we gotta kill her. I
Yeah.
mean, it was weird when Game of Thrones did it and people
Mhm.
rightfully like rejected that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you gotta go put down the woman because now she's in charge. I mean, like, obviously that's an oversimplification of what happened in that show too, but like
Yeah.
it's strange. It's very
Mhm.
strange. So you got to figure out another angle on the Dark Phoenix story. I do think it could work as a movie, but you have to center Jean Grey
Mhm.
before that. You can't just do it at the last minute because you want to tell that story. Do other stuff with
Yeah.
her. She's an
Yeah,
interesting character.
it could be like, a as an event, like the actual Dark Phoenix stuff could be like the conclusion of something that has been like steadily building
Hmm.
amidst other films where she had the spotlight for a different reason. I think like another story which I don't even know if I have a good reasoning for this, but something that I think doesn't fit in a movie is Watchmen,
Hmm.
which has become like a big question mark for me in this conversation because the Zack Snyder Watchmen movie is like in most ways like insanely faithful.
Yeah.
Like, taking comic book panels and using them as the storyboards in a way which I felt like still kind of like didn't kind of capture like the soul of the
Hmm.
comic really. And then on the other hand, they change stuff about the ending,
Yeah.
which
Squid.
the right or at least co-writer on it, David Hayter, who also wrote X2 or co-wrote X2. Yeah, someone asked him about it, I think, in some interview, and he just it was kind of what you would expect of like we appreciated the source material, but this just didn't work in the movie we were telling, and it didn't work in this context of being a film. And I don't know if I necessarily agree on that, but I just find it interesting that that was the point that they were like, well, we have to change this because it doesn't fit the film, but then every single other part of the story has to stay exactly
Mhm.
the same. And then it's even more complicated because you then have a sequel TV series, which I really liked,
Mhm.
and is expanding on the original story, and yet in a lot of ways I felt like got to the heart of what the comic was about more
Yeah.
than the faithful movie adaptation did, if
Hmm.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I understand.
Yeah, it's I think that's such a good point because like we think adaptations like, well, you got to be truthful to the source material. That's what we've been talking about
Yeah.
this whole time. It's like, well,
Gotta recreate these panels.
yeah, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not a one-to-one comparison though. That's not doesn't mean you're being truthful. It doesn't mean being truthful.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think the Watchmen TV show, which I also am a huge fan of,
I love that show.
like it, yeah, we were big fans of it here, and they made it into a TV show, but they also like they structured it like a TV show, and I think the failing of the
Uh-huh.
Watchmen movie, I'm a Zack Snyder defendee. I don't like all of this stuff. This is one of the ones I don't like. I don't like his Watchmen movie. I think it didn't change enough to be in the movie format, even though it runs like 3 hours and it's
Yeah.
extended
The
uncut version.
extended director's cut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a long film, and I'm fine with that. Again,
Yeah.
I like BVS and I like the Snyder cut. Like I'm not crap talking that, but
Mhm.
it's just replicating what's already on the page for the most part. The comic is such a essential part of comic history because it's like addressing stuff that's been building up over the years and years and decades of the comic book industry. The
Mhm.
movie doesn't have a place to store any of its own feelings about film. For example, I would like it if it sort of redirected its structure as a film more than doing what the comic did, but in live action motion now. Like
Yeah.
you have to kind of rework it, not from the ground up, but maybe structurally from the ground up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also interesting too because it comes out like in the like right before all the MCU movies. Like what is it really? I don't know, critiquing, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I still like it, but yeah, I think the stuff where it's like he critically misses like key ideas like bother me, like how Rorschach is portrayed or like the psychologist is portrayed. Like that whole point is like Rorschach like ruins that man's life just being around him, and then like in the movie it's not like he's just like there just as an obstacle for that or
The mere fact that like when like Patrick Wilson is fighting in that movie,
Mhm.
it's cool.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
Matrix style, like yeah, like
And that's not really ever the the feeling I got reading the comic, you know?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he misses stuff, like he really misses stuff, and it's not like like bash Zack Snyder too much, but yeah, it's just he misses like really key ideas that yeah, it kind of frustrates me watching that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you and I, Gene, are more pro Zack Snyder than some other people on the internet, at least. But yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
my boy's not perfect for
Like
sure.
me.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hey, it's fine. I
yeah.
get it. I totally get it. I just,
No, I mean I'm not like I'm more like of a like I'm not a Zack Snyder fan, but I'm kind of like I'm like jealous of people for enjoying Zack Snyder,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
I'm like because I know that I don't know if it's a popular opinion, but an opinion I'd see a lot is kind of like some people who are like I don't like certain Zack Snyder films, but even in the ones that they dislike, they like appreciate the artistry or they appreciate
Yeah.
his, he definitely has a directorial style. I think the only time that like, funnily enough, like I never saw the the extended cut version of Batman v Superman. I just saw
Mm.
the theatrical one, which I like hated, and I just remember just just wanting to leave the cinema because I was just really just depressed the whole time.
Mhm.
But then once the the everything that happened with his cut of Justice League happened,
Mhm.
I started to almost like miss his take. And even though I knew whenever I saw like and I eventually did see the Snyder cut, it's still not something I really like or enjoy,
Mm.
but it definitely felt like, okay, this is his take on it,
Yeah.
And I can think that that take is, bad for however many reasons, but at least it like felt like it was authentic to this guy. And that's why it's hard even talking about like the writing of a lot of these movies because they don't even have the, you have like a writer coming in and then 10 other writers coming in after
Yeah.
them to clean it up or to change something for a variety of different reasons to the point where it's like it must be hard to take ownership over certain movies because you're like, well, I don't even feel like that's mine anymore. And I think that's also why sometimes you can watch these movies and not have like a very straightforward like this is a bad adaptation or this is a good adaptation, but kind of be like, I really like these elements, but then these
Mhm.
elements were like really weird and out of nowhere. And I think a lot of that is to do with them not being a straightforward like adaptation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And before we come to an end, because I've taken up enough of your guys' time,
Oh.
No, this is a blast. This is a blast.
I just thought like, is there any other big things, Marvel, DC, or otherwise, that you want to bring up in this conversation? I know two things I forgot to mention
Mhm.
is that I recently read the original 3-issue run of Men in Black,
Mm.
the comic that the movie's based off. They just took that premise and made it like a little bit less fascist
Yeah.
and then injected like this like youthful new screen Hollywood presence and Will Smith and it and then obviously Tommy Lee Jones is like perfect foil for that, and that movie is a great adaptation for that. I think in that
Mhm.
and maybe like some of the Mark Miller stuff, it's like, yeah, it's a really good premise in here that you can make something completely different out of.
Yeah.
And another one is the last one I forgot to bring out from that was posted on the Discord was about the Adventures of Tintin.
Oh.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that
Which yeah,
counts.
which yeah, it definitely counts. I don't have much familiarity with the comics. It's more like my parents read it when they were kids and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that movie is great, and
Yes.
I don't think gets the love it deserves really.
No, if it came
Yeah.
out 10 years later, though, it would be like no one would stop talking about it. Because right now it's a
Yeah.
very like niche film nerd
Yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's so
Yeah.
great. But that's a great choice. I can't believe none of us thought about that.
Yeah. Seriously.
I guess none of us are very familiar with the comic strip. Maybe that's probably why. But like,
Like I
Yeah.
think I watched the cartoon. Yeah, but that's about
Mhm.
it. Yeah.
So is there anything else like that, like the big two or otherwise?
I got one actually.
Okay.
Sure,
And
go ahead.
Gene, you can close this out then.
Yeah.
Hellboy, Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy. I'd be
Mm.
crazy if I was like, yeah, the 2019 Hellboy. No, but specifically the Hellboy 2: The Golden Army. That's one of my favorite Del Toro movies. I think it's so
Uh-huh.
beautiful and so imaginative and evocative, and like there's this really great sense of melancholy that runs through it, even though it's a fun adventure movie. Del Toro's obviously got such a love for the weird and the off the beaten path stuff. And I really like that first Hellboy too. But the second one is like, he's coming off Pan's Labyrinth, and he's like, let me bring
Mhm.
everything I just learned about fantasy storytelling.
Mhm.
I'm gonna use my blockbuster paycheck to do it again, but I'm gonna also have it star Ron Perlman with a big gun. And I love that movie. That's like top 3 Del Toro for me on most days.
Yeah.
And
Good
it's
choice.
Mike Mignola's not. I don't know if they had beef at one point, but I think their interests in the Hellboy character. I know there was a little bit of conflict there because
Uh-huh.
Mike Mignola is very gothic and is like harsh
Right.
shadows and German expressionism and the monkey's got a gun. And then
Mhm.
Guillermo del Toro is like, life is beautiful and wonderful, but we're all gonna die someday, and that's okay, but it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he also likes, I think Mike Mignola mentioned like he really likes the gears. He's got like a steampunk fetish, maybe Del Toro, which is like fine. Plenty of people
Mhm.
do online.
Yeah.
But it's just like I just remember that little squabble back in the day with his comment, and I was like, yeah, but that's why I like it. It's Guillermo del Toro like unfiltered somehow with a blockbuster. He keeps getting these unfiltered movies, and I'm sure they're not unfiltered in production, but they feel unfiltered, which
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
like the perfect hat trick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing that we appreciate a Del Toro fetish more than a Bruce Timm one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think no, that's a good choice. For adaptions, because it just struck me so much and I still think about it and the poster of it. But like the Batman, I think is like such a good adaptation in terms of like what they're doing is like so hard because it's like you have to adapt a character that's just been endlessly adapted. Will keep
Mhm.
being adapted because it's like Warner Brothers, that's the only character they care about, just Batman in DC. But just the way that it was like subversive, so it's just like things where it's just like I would never have thought about it. It's like how did he, come up with like the Batmobile? And it's like, oh, it's just some random car you just kept fixing up. Or it's like, when he glided for the first time, he was like really scared, or like, how he operates, like the bat signal. It's very like subversive. And then two, like it doesn't like adapt everything about the character. Like, I don't know, did he train around the world discovering every martial art? I still, no clear answers, but yeah, it really got the spirit of that character, and I really appreciated that. So yeah, that adaptation for me is like, up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a is when you mentioned about like his training and stuff, it's like you realize like despite being very grounded, it's like very different to the Nolan movies
Hmm.
because there is still like mystery to it, and there's
Yeah.
it's all about the psychological like you're left being like you're in the moment of like this is what it's like to be a guy wearing like makeup, sat in a dark room, just not sleeping, endlessly
Mm.
plotting how he's going to take down crime in the city, and like just like really being in that mindset.
Yeah.
Is like was that written by Matt Reeves?
I believe it was at least
No,
co-written by him though.
co-written. Yeah, it
Hmm.
was co-written. And then that
Okay.
other writer, he did. Yeah, I forgot the other writer's name. Apologize.
There's Peter Craig, and then there's one other writer on it who's on board for the sequel. Let me see if I can find his name because he was like a hot spec script writer for a second. Matson
Yeah.
Tomlin.
Mm.
Okay.
He did uncredited rewrite specifically for stuff for the third act for the Batman, and then he's
Mhm.
on board entirely
Uh,
for the Batman Part Two, which will come out
Yeah.
okay.
eventually.
And which I haven't read like a lot of Batman, but like it seems like they're doing the was it like No Man's Land? Is that kind of where they're
Mm,
going
I
with that?
I think it takes inspiration. I think like just the general sort of thing where it's like I think you'll see, I guess, in the Penguin show and like some of the other things like Gotham just being like kind of a natural disaster. What happens to a
Mhm.
city that's kind of
Yeah.
like isolated.
Yeah,
So
I really hope that's the direction they go because this isn't a criticism, but I love when Batman is a little more fantastical. Like I don't need him
yeah,
fighting aliens all the time and stuff like that.
yeah,
I just mean like
Mhm.
aesthetically, I think there's a lot of interesting directions they can go. And Batman Part 2 opens up with Batman chasing people on jet skis alongside a frozen lake. I will lose my mind. That would be the best. So yeah, I mean, that's for me, that's what I thought too. It looks like No Man's Land is the thing that they're kind of taking inspiration from for the next chapter.
Yeah. And in general, is there any like big takeaways you guys have, like from thinking about like how like we should adapt stuff, or like how faithful things should be?
I think like if you just kind of go back to like just what makes the character like interesting and like tick and like I don't know, like they're sharing things where it's like, yeah, I would like the suit to look maybe like the comics if you could, but it's like it's not the end all be all of like, you know, if you share like Wolverine wearing the, you know, Hugh Jackman wearing the yellow costume, I'm not gonna get like really excited, like, you know, if it's a good movie and like it does it interesting, you know. I feel like for superhero movies now, it's just like I'm not gonna watch it if like it's just another movie, you know. Like it needs to like make me connect to it. Yeah.
More than anything, I need to see like a voice. You know, like I asked the question about like, well, who is this comic for? You know, and I think you should have to think about that for movies too. Sometimes, at least big Hollywood blockbusters. I'm cool with dudes just making experimental films that everyone hates, and then I'm like, oh, that was cool. You know, like that's made for one person, and that's the person that made it. For big blockbusters, you do have to think about like who's it for? What are we doing here? Yada yada yada. I just want like a good artist to be able to share their voice. I'm also cool with stuff that's a little more like journeyman, like for hire work. You know, you can be a good filmmaker who doesn't really have a distinct style or voice too. You know, like we all love our auteurs nowadays, and I do too. But it's okay if something doesn't like change my life. You know, it's I want more Batman Returns and the Batmans than I do. As much as I like it, BVS, and not because of the Zack Snyderisms, but because the only reason that movie exists is because let's do Justice League because they did Avengers. Like as much as I do like that movie, that's the corporate reason for that movie's existence. I want less stuff that's and I mean less assembly line stuff. You know, the Marvels thing is I think at the end of its run. I think it'll be a minute before the people on that assembly line recognize that, but I think that the tide has officially turned on them. Apologies to the Marvels. I liked Nia DaCosta's other movies, so good luck. But you know, it's you can tell the difference between Guardians of the Galaxy's 3 response and Ant-Man 3's response. You know, I haven't seen Ant-Man 3. A lot of other people did for me. It doesn't seem like many people were that pleased with it, and even if people like. Because I know a lot of people did outright hate Guardians 3. No one says that movie doesn't have like a beating heart. Like a human being made that movie. Even if it doesn't work for you, it is clearly about someone who's very sentimental and wanted to make you cry. And it makes me cry. I finally got through it all the way without crying though. So I got a victory.
Times. You had to watch it like 5 times.
A 4. I think that's enough for right now. It's still emotionally exhausting.
Well, yeah, I think that's a really good way of putting it. And I think if you're comparing those two movies, like for all the reasons people might not like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I wouldn't want to change that because I don't think like not all movies can be for everyone, you know, and maybe like occasionally you'll get like the first Avengers movie where it's this kind of celebration that can be like a movie for everyone in a way. But then, you know, not every movie is going to be that. And, an Ant-Man movie doesn't have to necessarily be that. And maybe that looks like a Guardians 3 movie where it's really dark and messed up and about, like, trauma and abuse. And that's not everyone's thing. But then also maybe there's another thing which comes out and it's just like, you know... was it Spidey and His Amazing Friends, that show you mentioned? Like, you know, it's just like that's not for us, and that's fine. Show some more like dedication to that rather than making everything has to be for everyone and ends up being for no one.
All
right. Thanks again for coming, guys, and at some point on this podcast we will go back to talking about Spider-Man the animated series, which is itself an adaptation of a comic. Which we didn't talk about today, but we will be talking about it a lot in the future. Is there anything that you guys want to draw attention to for like recent Waffle Press episodes or stuff that is coming out soon?
Ooh, let's see. I'm not sure when this will be released.
Yeah, probably like late August or something.
Late August, okay. Our Blue Beetle episode will be out. I mean, we're not going to be just talking about Blue Beetle. We'll be talking about other stuff, but our buddy Noah Garcia is joining us on that, and I'm sure it's going to be a lively discussion because him and I are Mexican, and so Blue Beetle is like one of our favorite characters. So just to be a little sentimental, hopefully the movie works out. I hope it does.
Yeah, hopefully it's good. Yeah.
It will probably make $0, but if it makes any money, it's because I saw it.
Yeah.
The failed blockbusters is back. I believe the episodes that will be available will be The Last Action Hero, which just came out at the time of recording this, and at least up to Mimic. I think other stuff's coming out after that.
Okay,
So you
cool.
just gotta. So another Guillermo del Toro plug. So
Yeah.
check that out, and then check out the episodes even without me. Like Gene does some great interviews and has other great guests on. So go
sometimes,
check that out.
we talk about more comic stuff.
Yeah, you got the 7-Up comics.
Yeah, want to try to do Venture Brothers, the movie, but I'm still waiting on my copy to come in. So yeah.
Oh no.
Can't wait.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks again for coming, guys. And I'd say we've been professionally unprofessional, but that's someone else's line. So I'll just say see you later, fuckers. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.